Hello everybody and welcome to the 6th round of the 2004 Formula 1 World Championship. We arrive at the Spanish Grand Prix, home of Renault driver Fernando Alonso at the Circuit de Barcelona Catalunya. There we go. I'm joined today with Jeffrey Ten Thije.
Yeah, hello there, Jane. The weather is just looking very great out here, isn't it?
Yeah, it's expected to be bright, warm conditions, what we usually see here on the southern coast of Spain. We have got a new layout of the circuit, actually, which involves turn 10. I don't actually know which corner that is, but it's on the end of the Nissan Straight. It's been reprofiled to be made a lot more tight compared to previous seasons. Before we get into qualifying, though, as we so often do, let's have a look at the practice times that we saw with Fernando Alonso, home hero. He's looking for his first victory here at the Circuit Barcelona Catalunya. He was fastest in practice by over half a second ahead of test and reserve driver at McLaren, Nick Heidfeld, who showed good pace there ahead of Michael Schumacher by a couple thousandths. David Coulthard also putting in a good number of laps in the BAR, with the test driver of Alexandre Primat taking over duties for Giorgio Pantano in the other Renault. We also saw the likes of Ralph Furman, Tom Coronel and Jacques Villeneuve in the top 10. Cristiano Di Matteo also had a great practice session as well. He's up in 12th place. We also saw Valentino Rossi take the reins in the Ferrari instead of Jarno Trulli, and unlike his teammate Cristiano Di Matteo, Jensen Button all the way down in 26th position and 5 seconds off. So the inconsistencies of the Jaguar still being their main downfall, of course. And once again, we're seeing the Bootsons. They are fairly far down the order, although Friesaka 23rd place, not too bad from him. Nakano's in 27th, with the bottom three, Mark Webber, Thiago Monteiro and Zsolt Baumgartner. Webber not being able to set many lap times on the board due to an engine failure fairly early on. Is there any surprises that you saw in that practice session, Jeffrey?
Well, it's of course very nice to see the BAR that far up the field, even though Coulthard of course has that penalty after the incident last race. And Webber just being that far down is, compared to Massa, surprising to say the least.
Yeah, he really struggled within the couple of laps that he actually had on the board. He did not set any competitive ones necessarily. Looking at the championship standings, Giorgio Pantano lead the way by 4 points after the San Marino Grand Prix, ahead of now Michael Schumacher, who's picked up his second victory in a row. Kimi Raikkonen with more consistent results, although with his second retirement of the season, he falls down to third ahead of Alonso, Barrichello and Coulthard, who are all on 21 points apiece. We also saw the first points of the season for several drivers on the grid, including their first career points, with Furman, Sperafico and Marc Genet all taking those honours. In the Constructors' Championship, it couldn't get much closer, with Renault leading by a solitary point ahead of McLaren. Ferrari seriously need to pick up the pace after a double retirement once again in their home race at the Imola circuit. BAR also with a double retirement sees them just a single point ahead of 5th place Williams, with Toyota, Damsler Lipano scoring their first points of the season in Imola, Brabham and Red Bull completing the 9 teams who have scored points. And without further ado, let's get straight into the qualifying action. Once again, hour-long qualifying session, and then it'll be a 305-kilometer race. Welcome in everybody, by the way. Welcome in Benny and Nils, is the people that I can see in chat right now. Actually, just want to check something. Yeah, okay. First driver out on circuit will be the Honda of Takuma Sato. He's looking to try and get some consistent results on the board, really. He's been really struggling in this first part of the season. Of course, him and his teammate Ralf Schumacher have yet to score a point so far this season, although Ralf has come close on multiple occasions so far this year. While we wait for the first cars to come out on track, I might as well talk through the news. So After Imola, David Coulthard has been handed a 10-place grid penalty following his role in a dramatic collision with teammate Dan Wheldon during the San Marino Grand Prix. The incident capped a bruising afternoon for BAR, turning a points opportunity into a damaging double retirement. The flashpoint came at Tamburello in treacherous intermediate conditions, Coulthard attempting an ambitious overtake on Ralph Furman, lost control mid-corner, and as he rejoined the circuit, the Scotsman clattered into Dan Wheldon, instantly ending both drivers' races and prompting a swift investigation from the stewards. Coulthard was quick to apologise publicly, accepting the responsibility of his error. However, contrition did little to soften the blow for the team. What might have been a stronghold instead became a momentum-sapping zero, a result made worse by rivals capitalising elsewhere on the grid. With a double points finish for Williams, the championship picture now tightens further in the midfield as they just find themselves 1 point ahead of Williams. And with this uphill task of David Coulthard here today, he's certainly going to need to pull all of his tricks out the bag. Obviously, being a world champion, he's got a lot of skill behind that wheel, but do you think he's got enough in the tank to retain possibly a points finish at the end of the day?
Well, I certainly hope so, because any point is a valuable point in this series. So losing out, of course, just loses you out. Yeah. Great tier commentary.
Onto the upgrades now, where Honda headlined their update list with a major weight reduction program and in a bold attempt to kickstart a season that has yet to yield a point. With Ralf Schumacher and Takuma Sato still searching for a breakthrough, the lighter package is designed to improve tyre life and race pace over long stints, areas that have repeatedly let the Japanese manufacturer down on Sundays. To be fair, the qualifying pace, I think, has been much to be desired from Honda. Of course, I don't think we've seen either one of them within the top 10 or anywhere close to the top 10. And obviously, Ralf Schumacher has been knocking on the door of points. I believe 9th place is his best finish of the season so far. So maybe this weight reduction upgrade could be the turning point for the Japanese team to get on the board finally. As we say that, Takuma Sato rounding the final corner and up towards the line to set a benchmark of a 1 minute 24.8. We'll see how he fares against the likes of Felipe Massa in the Red Bull, who is being held up here by the Brabham of, that looks to be Nick Heidfeld, as he goes 6/10 slower. Ralf Schumacher, though, looking pretty pacey in the Honda. Onto further upgrades. Renault arrive with refinements aimed squarely at reducing body drag, a move expected to complement their already strong cornering performance. With Barcelona's long load of corners and punishing final sector, the French outfit are hoping improved straight line efficiency will translate into better race flexibility and overtaking potential. Reliability takes the centre stage for Toyota, who introduce an engine reliability upgrade following a run of costly failures. It's not necessarily been the engine that's been the Achilles heel for Toyota, as Ralf Schumacher, a good lap there, nearly into the 122s. He sees himself a second and a half ahead of his teammates. It's been the gearbox that's been the main sticking point for Toyota. Obviously, Riccardo Sperrifico on multiple occasions retiring with gearbox problems from a good points position. I believe in France he was actually running it as high as 3rd before retiring from the race, and hopefully maybe it was engine problems causing the gearbox to shake itself apart. Not entirely sure, but either way, they seem confident in actually getting both cars across the line and possibly both scoring points once again today. It was actually the first time all year that we saw both Toyotas both in the points, as Sperrifico finished in 8th, and I think Jacques Villeneuve was a little bit higher in that, if I recall correctly.
It seems to have been that he finished up in P6, so just in front of his teammate.
Yeah. Alonso out there on circuit. He'll be looking to get a victory on the board today. Of course, just a numerous amount of points away from his teammate. I believe it's 8 points. He is behind his teammate Giorgio Pantano, who currently leads the standings. Hello, Sampas. Welcome in. I hope everyone's day is going well so far. As we can see, over 30 degrees and climbing. It's a fantastic day for Formula One, as the commentator loves to say on F1 Challenge, as Alonso goes into the 1 minute 21s and moves over a second ahead of Ralf Schumacher. Justin Wilson will be the next one to cross the line in the Rose Toyota, as he makes his way up towards the line. Is Jacques Villeneuve staying on the grid? It has to be. It remains to be seen, as there are rumours about Giancarlo Fisichella's return to the grid, maybe as early as just the next race in Monaco. So that would be good to see him back, of course, after his neck injury from the 2003 Japanese Grand Prix qualifying session. He'll be looking to bounce back, but who knows whether he'll be the same driver once again. Further down the grid, Dams Lola panels introduced their aggressive development with a push on their rear wing drag reduction. After showing promising pace in recent rounds, the update is intended to protect straight line speed without sacrificing the stability that has underpinned their results so far, as well as engine power that has been their main problem with that underpowered Cosworth engine. It's also been the Achilles heel of Jaguar and Minardi as well. Those three teams have been three of the slowest teams in the speed trap so far, so maybe Dams can be a bit more competitive down the straights, which overall makes their package a lot more balanced across most circuits on the calendar. Boutsen focus on an increasing front wing downforce, targeting improved turning and confidence through Barcelona's fast opening sector. For a team often operating on the margins, gains in mechanical field could prove just as valuable as raw lap time. As Antonio Pizzoni out there on circuit in the Brabham. And he goes to third position, actually, ahead of Takuma Sato. 10 drivers currently setting a lap so far, albeit he is the better part of 3 seconds off the current provisional pole time. Pedro de la Rosa also out on circuit. And that is all for the upgrades. Transfer news, though. Fernando Alonso has pledged his long-term future to the Renault Formula One team after signing a contract extension that will keep the Spaniard with the French outfit until the end of 2006. The new agreement represents a major vote of confidence from Renault in the 22-year-old, who has rapidly emerged himself as one of the most exciting talents on the Formula One grid. Since arriving at the team, Alonso has combined outright speed with increasingly consistent results, placing himself firmly among the sport's leading drivers despite his relative youth. His rise, though, has not been without controversy. The Spaniard currently has a suspended race ban hanging over him after a string of incidents in recent races, something that has kept his name regularly in front of the stewards. Even so, Renault management remain convinced that Alonso is the driver capable of leading them to championship success in the coming years. Team boss Flavio Briatore has made it clear that Renault sees Alonso as a cornerstone of their long-term ambitions, believing that the young driver has the pace and determination required to deliver a world title for the Enstone-based squad. Well, he's definitely been one of the fastest drivers on the grid so far this season, I'd say, maybe behind Jarno Trulli. How many points does the Michael have to score to take the title lead? Yes, he is currently 4 points away from Giorgio Pantano. The top three is Giorgio Pantano in the lead on 29, Michael Schumacher on 25, and Kimi Raikkonen on 24. Then we fall down to Barrichello, Coulthard and Alonso, who are each on 21. Is there any predictions, possibly early season predictions for you on who could possibly take this title? Of course, Jarno Trulli only with 8 points so far this season, Jeffrey. He could also be a contender, perhaps.
Yeah, I mean, the entire top half of the point score so far could still be a decent contender if you really look at it. Of course, I hope that my own guy Coulthard gets anywhere close, but if he keeps acting like he did last race, that will become very difficult.
But
I do just think.
Sorry, go on.
Yeah, I do think that it could become a tight one between Schumacher and Pantano as it stands right now, but to be fair, it's anyone's game.
Benny believes that it could be Michael Schumacher, maybe some German bias in there perhaps, who knows. Kimi title if Renault have issues. Well, Renault's recent bulletproof form have certainly been tested in recent rounds, with Pantano retiring in San Marino it was, for his first retirement of the season, as well as Fernando Alonso. His recent exploits have seen him cop a few grid penalties and time penalties throughout recent rounds, as we currently see Rubens Barrichello out there on the circuit. Alex has said backing Kimi to win it, to be honest, as well as Sampas. So it seems that Kimi Räikkönen is actually the favourite, surprisingly enough. He's definitely up there as one of the favourites, but yeah, it'll have to be remain to be seen if he can keep up his good start to the season. Of course, I don't feel like he's really made any mistakes so far this year, unlike multiple other drivers on the grid, as Dan Wheldon, 2.5 seconds off the pace, slots himself behind Ralf Schumacher, as Marc Genet also completing the top 5 as of right now. Just looking for something. Is anyone else on the lap? Nick Heidefeld's about to start a lap. We'll go on board with him. Hello Captain Rage, welcome in. If you want to find out more about the news of this series, and yeah, you want to find out about it earlier, be sure to check out the Discord, as that is linked in the chat as well as in the description of the stream. Nick Heidfeld improving quite a bit through that first sector. Jarno Trulli is like a Lacey in my 94 career mode, fast in quality but horrible luck in the race, yeah. Recently saw a video of all 11 retirements out of 17 races for Kimi in 2002. Hopefully for Kimi Räikkönen, he does not have that retirement rate this season. His McLaren career has certainly been a lot more smooth sailing for him than in real life, at least. As we see Nick Heidfeld here with a 33.8. Not 33.4 through this middle sector. This could be a lap that's good enough to possibly push him towards the top 5 perhaps, as Jacques Villeneuve goes 4th place. Just ahead there of Dan Wheldon by a 10th or 2. And across the line for the German, it'll be an improvement to the front row of the grid. 2nd place there for the Brabham, and he sees himself half a second away from the front of the field. Thiago Monteiro will be the next driver across the line, although we imagine once again Minardi will not be having good enough pace to get close to qualifying either car onto the grid. Let's talk more about not rather a driver transfer, but rather a team transfer in their ownership. Tom Walkinshaw returns to Formula 1 with a controlling stake in Jaguar. Veteran motorsport figure Tom Walkinshaw is set for a dramatic return to Formula 1 after purchasing a controlling stake in Jaguar Racing, acquiring a 60% share of the team in a deal believed to be worth approximately €125 million. The move follows a familiar reunion for Walkinshaw and Jaguar, as we'll get a look at where Felipe Massa is. He's making his way through the last couple of corners. It's actually purple through that middle sector. Timo Glock purple through the first sector. So it certainly seems to be coming alive, with a lot of the slower teams in the recent rounds being able to push possibly for a higher position. Felipe Massa onto the front row and just about missing out on pole position as of right now. Timo Glock also out there right now. We're 15 minutes in and we've seen laps from 17 of the 30 drivers on the grid. The Scotsman previously worked closely with the British manufacturer during the late 1980s and early 1990s, overseeing successful campaigns in the World Sports Car Championship with the iconic Jaguar XJS program. His return comes at a time when Jaguar's Formula 1 project appears to be at a crossroads following a disappointing 2004 season. Walkinshaw brings brings with him extensive Formula One experience. During the early 1990s, he held senior management roles with Benetton, as Timo Glock to provisional pole in the Opel. A great lap from the German as he now goes to the top of the pile. Giorgio Pantano, though, out on circuit. Is there a chance that Minardi qualifies for a race this season? Hopefully. I would say it wouldn't necessarily be on pace, but maybe a few grid penalties here and there for other drivers could possibly see them a bit further up the order. Of course, Scholt Baumgartner actually qualified 27th in France. He was just one place away after grid penalties for both Montero and Wilson, it was. Track evolution certainly playing a part in this qualifying session right now, as Timo Glock currently leads away ahead of Alonso in the Renault, Massa in the Red Bull, and Heidfeld in the Brabham. Held senior management roles with Benetton Formula and Ligier before purchasing Arrows in 1996. Timo Sato, yep, that's a name of all time. Takuma Sato on pole position now in the Honda. We're definitely going to see the times start to drop in this session. Here, with Walkinshaw, he remained at the helm with Arrows until 2000, when the team was bought out by the rapidly rising Toyota F1 team. Walkinshaw stayed on to oversee day-to-day operations and played a role in one of the team's most memorable moments, when Nicolas Manassian delivered the squad's only Formula One victory in 2001, before Walkinshaw stepped away later that same year. Despite stepping back from frontline management in recent seasons, the 57-year-old appears unable to resist the lure of Formula One. His investment comes from Ford's enthusiasm for the Jaguar project, appears to be cooling, with budget cuts and inconsistent results leaving them adrift from the frontrunners. Since entering the sport in 2000, Jaguar have taken 6 victories, but have largely remained stuck at the top of the midfield, a position that has grown increasingly difficult to sustain. Walkinshaw believes that the team still has strong foundations and insists that the project can be revitalized under new leadership. Quote, Jaguar has a fantastic heritage and enormous potential in Formula One. I know the organization well and I'm excited to take the opportunity and rebuild the team into a competitive force once again. With the right structure and commitment, I'm confident that we can move Jaguar forward. The takeover signals the beginning of a new chapter for Jaguar as the team looks to reverse its current struggles and re-establish itself as a serious contender in Formula One's fiercely competitive field. Do you think that Jaguar could probably push forward with the new ownership, Jeffrey?
Yeah, surely, new people always can make a difference in a team. As you can also see what happens 22 years from now. That can also go the entire opposite way of the spectrum. But we'll actually have to wait and see till next season to see if it actually helps them or not.
David Coulthard out there on circuit right now. He's not set a lap time on the board, but he's looking to possibly harass Takuma Sato for a potential top of the pile spot, as Jarno Trulli on his first run. Currently second place, surprisingly, putting himself behind the Honda of Takuma Sato. We'll see how Coulthard, though, fares across the line. He goes to 4th position behind Timo Glock, but ahead of Fernando Alonso. The two Opels seem to have decent pace around here so far, with Pedro de la Rosa currently looking to possibly topple Takuma Sato at the top of the table. Timo Glock currently finds himself in 3rd position, about 0.3 of a second away from the current top spot. De La Rosa onto the front row provisionally after 20 minutes in this qualifying session. This session is really proving to be quite different compared to recent rounds, with a lot of the lower midfield and maybe even backmarker teams showing that they've got pace maybe against the front runners. Then again, we have not seen a lot of them set a competitive lap time, I imagine, as the two Bootsons of Shinji Nakano and Patrick Friesacker are both out there on circuit. Nakano currently a 10th slower than his teammates through the first sector, 4 seconds down in the middle sector. This certainly seems like less of a push lap than what he could probably be capable of as he makes his way through the final couple of corners. Actually holding up there David Coulthard, who I believe is actually on an in lap. That is entirely the case there, as now he makes his way through the final corner, Shinji Nakano, and up towards the line. It's a 1:28.3. Let's go through the chat. Welcome in FF, welcome in Dylan, Alex as well. Captain Rage have said hello. Racing at Home, as well as Wood Thomas 14. Welcome in everybody. And we're seeing quite a different order to the top of the qualifying sheets right now, as after 21 or 22 drivers have set lap times, it's currently Takuma Sato on pole position, the driver who has often been struggling, kind of, to get into the top 26. He's had a bit of worry with that in recent rounds, but currently finds himself at the top of the pile, so definitely track evolution, I think, is playing a part in today's session. As Alonso there out on circuit is improving by quite a margin, 5 tenths up on Takuma Sato through that first sector alone. So I imagine we're going to see the pole time all of a sudden drop thanks to the Spaniard of Fernando Alonso. We'll watch on board with him for the remainder of this lap through the turn 7s and 8 chicane, and then up to turn 9, camps a corner, one of the most difficult corners on the circuit, I'd have to say, because if you get a bad exit out of here, then you've got a bad run in towards what is now the new reprofile turn 10, a lot tighter compared to its previous iteration. Then through the chicane of turns 11 and 12, long right-hander, and then to the final 2 corners. Very satisfying to get right, but obviously if you get it wrong, then you could end up in the barriers, as we saw with James Courtney in the GP2 race on the final lap just yesterday, or 2 days ago I should say, as Alonso there, much better lap, and we see a usual name once again to the top of the qualifying order as he goes to the top with a 1 minute 19.4. Jarno Trulli also heading out on circuit, so I imagine he's also going to be a driver who's going to find a lot of time on his next lap. As there, Felipe Massa looking like he's got problems with his engine on the in-lap. It looks like smoke is starting to billow out of the Lamborghini engine there, and it's not the first time, maybe even this weekend, that we've seen a Red Bull engine failure. Hello Massa, welcome into the stream. Will BMW enter the sport soon? Well, they're currently with Williams right now. They're currently partnering Williams in a works deal that has lasted since the year 2000. Your engine dead, most definitely. Although their contract does expire with Williams at the end of 2004, and it's not actually confirmed whether or not they will be staying with the British team for any further seasons. And there seems to be a lot of smoke coming out the back of that Red Bull. He's just about going to keep it out the wall there in Sector 3. He's going to come to a stop in the gravel. He was fortunately just about kept it out the barriers there for the Red Bull driver. He's going to need a new engine in that car, and I imagine that's probably going to be a grid penalty as well.
Yeah, but that was mightily close to the wall there. You only just about avoided it instead of just maybe taking him out for the rest of the race weekend there.
Speaking of Jaguar, Cristiano Di Matteo will be hoping to put in good performances to try and put himself as a possible contender for that seat, although 2 non-qualifications for him so far this season is certainly not going to put him in a good light, after especially being comprehensively beaten by Williams-bound teammate Jenson Button. As Jarno Trulli purple in the first sector, a 10.5 up on Fernando Alonso and 6 tenths up on his previous best. Cristiano Di Matteo up towards the line, and he goes on to the front row, although I imagine a lot of drivers are looking for a much more big improvement, especially including this man right here, Jarno Trulli, with after 5 rounds, currently finds himself pretty far down the order in the championship. I believe he's 8th or 9th in the championship right now, with currently just 8 points to his name after scoring a 2nd place in Manicourt. The other 4 racers, retirements from the race, with a crash in Melbourne and 3 other mechanical retirements, taking him out of contention from possible race victories. So Jarno Trulli has a lot to prove here today, certainly wants to get a victory on the board, not yet with one so far this season, as we've seen so far 4 different drivers scoring victories in the opening 5 rounds, those being Alonso, Pantano, Barrichello and Michael Schumacher, as Jarno Trulli there beating Fernando Alonso to the punch to top of the table by just under 0.2 of a second. Nicholas Manassium in that upgraded dams was a bit unlucky really not to be scoring points in Imola. A 9th place finish for him was a good result. He was pretty happy with it. His second 9th place finish of the season, although poor strategy calls between the rain periods certainly threw him off a chance of scoring points in Imola. Can we check the Hondas? What about the Hondas? I don't get it. Can we check the Hondas? Yeah, the Schumacher 15. Funny joke. Anyway, Manassian up towards the line. He goes 17th, behind 2 places by Ralf Schumacher, who's currently about to start his next lap. I will also say though, Nils, there is a Jaguar in P3, an Opel in P5, an Opel in P6, a Red Bull in P8, and a Rose Toyota in 9th, and a Brabham in 10th. So it's certainly, I expect to see some faster times from those further up in the championship table. Nick Heidfeld there out on circuit and looking for an improvement, although he's not looking too good to actually find that improvement, as he's currently down on himself through the first and second sectors as well as the last sector, and he doesn't see himself any higher than 10th position.
Yeah, the positions so far are quite looking like they might still be having some previous data from previous testing sessions, like pre-seasons or just testing sessions in general, where they might just be able to get the setup advantage they might not have on different circuits, which might give them a chance to get higher up, at least in the early part of the session.
Yeah, so we've just had an engine regulation change going into this season, where we've moved from 3-litre V10s to 3.2-litre V10s, as well as what did we have? I think less drag as well as less downforce going into this year, although it has seen I believe faster lap times than what we saw last season overall, as Antonio Pittonia breaks his way into the top 10. Jenson Button also out there on circuit, as he is currently down in 21st position and quite a way down on his teammate, who's up in 4th right now. So he'll certainly be looking to possibly trying to match his Brazilian teammate. Engines are not reliable, that is correct. It certainly seems that the engines are going to need some tweaking over the next maybe season or two. I imagine that they'll get it a lot more correct throughout 2005, maybe even through the second half of 2004 if the teams really want to. Of course, reliability being one of the main sticking points in good results, as there Pedro de la Rosa fails to improve and stays in 7th position, as Jenson Button goes a 10th faster than him. Takuma Sato, though, improving only by 1,000th of a second, though, so he's not looking like he's going to be possibly challenging Cristiano de Mata for 4th place in this current run, as the Brazilian has actually set a pretty good lap time when all things considered. Currently finds himself half a second ahead of his teammate Jenson Button, who is in 6th. Takuma Sato himself half a second down on his teammate Ralf Schumacher, although you'd probably expect that considering his world champion status that he possesses. Takuma Sato then marginally up once again in the second sector.
Meanwhile, Alonso has gone purple in the first sector. He surely cannot go much faster than that, unless, like, maybe he can.
We'll have to wait and see, as Takuma Sato now comes up towards the line. He does find a bit of an improvement, 67 thousandths of a second there for Takuma Sato in the Honda, as Fernando Alonso purple in sector 1, Not as fast in Sector 2, although is currently still up by a tenth of a second in overall over himself. So it could be fairly close between him and Jarno Trulli if he can pull himself together through this last couple of corners. Through the penultimate corner, which is very nearly flat in these 2004 cars. The last corner not so, as he now makes his way up towards the line. And Alonso sets a 119.301, which sees him 600ths away from pole. Eventually got it right, as Jacques Villeneuve there, 2 seconds up on his personal best, and looking to possibly try and put himself into maybe the top 10 with this lap. It could be somewhere around the opals at this current pace, unless he finds a lot of time again in the final sector. We'll have to wait and see as he now makes his way up towards the line, and it is a 120.6, third place for Jacques Villeneuve, and he is 3 tenths ahead of Ralf Schumacher. Raikkonen out there on circuit, beginning his first lap in the qualifying session. Don't imagine it'll be fast, as a lot of drivers have been setting not so fast first runs and then really pushing the extremities of their cars through the second runs. Also, speaking about reliability, if anything, the Ferrari and Toyota gearboxes are much worse than any engine on the grid. That is true, yeah. A lot of gearbox failures for those two teams after recent success with the 24 hours of Nürburgring recent years. 1901. Dodge will join with a detuned 8.4 litre V10 engine. Dear me, that would be interesting. Oh, Giorgio Panzer's run into problems. Where is he currently? 15th place in the Renault. See what's just happened there with Giorgio Pantano.
I bet it's just going to be an instant failure out of the pit lane.
Oh, it's an engine failure, yeah, there for the Renault, which could lead to him also having a grid penalty, of course, with this season. If you have a engine failure that needs sorting after the start of qualifying, and after you go out on circuit, then you will be incurred with a 10-place grid penalty. So that could be a big problem for Giorgio Pantano, current championship leader.
I do wonder how
yeah, go on.
How they managed to blow the engine up immediately out of the pit lane. You'd imagine that would be a very amateuristic mistake from teams like that.
I'll go watch someone else. Kimi Raikkonen, 14th place currently, as Rubens Barrichello looking for an improvement. He's in the final sector right now. And up towards the line for the Brazilian, it's a 119.8 and currently puts him third, ahead of David Coulthard, who I think has also found a good improvement on his lap. Yeah, I doubt there's going to be many manufacturers that would be interested in joining, of course, with their, obviously, a lot of teams are owned by bigger companies that also own other manufacturers, such as, like I say, Nissan and Renault have an alliance, as well as, I can't think of many others right now off the top of my head. I think Mercedes and Volkswagen are owned by the same group, if I'm not mistaken, as Sperifico there, 4th place, ahead of Jacques Villeneuve once again. It seems the Brazilian has an edge over his teammates in qualifying, as Justin Wilson also out there on circuit. He's down in 15th place right now, which wouldn't be bad on the starting grid, although we are yet to see laps from any of Michael Schumacher, Juan Pablo Montoya, Ralf Furman, Mark Webber or Zsolt Baumgartner. As Justin Wilson looking to find an improvement. He's up by half a tenth through the first 2 sectors in his Rose Toyota. He needs to find that much time to move on to the front 7 rows. Felipe Massa just 49 thousandths ahead of him going through the final 2 corners, as Nicolas Manassian also looking to find an improvement in his Dams Lola panels, and up towards the line for Justin Wilson. He does exactly that, just ahead of Felipe Massa to get himself into the 1:21. The Frenchman of Manassian now looking to try and get himself maybe into the top 10 with this lap. He currently finds himself half a second away from pole position, so maybe this could be a good enough lap to maybe put him on the front 2 rows provisionally, as 35 minutes have now elapsed in the qualifying session. De Matter also looking for an improvement, although not as fast as Manassian through that first sector. Manassian now through the final corner. He'd love to start high up on the grid so he can have a good chance of scoring points here today, and it will be 4th place for Manassian. A 1:19.9 sees him tucked up nicely behind Rubens Barrichello by half a tenth of a second, as there, down the main straight, 313 kilometers an hour for the Dams Lola Panels team. That's a lot faster than what we've been seeing them go down the straights. They've been struggling to reach 300 in recent rounds, but around Spain, with this massive pair of drag reduction upgrades that they have fetched in recent rounds, it seems that Dams have now managed to supplement the engine deficit that they have with the Cosworth engine. Marc Genet, they're out on circuit. He's been a bit inconsistent with his lap times so far in his Williams career. Of course, deputising for Alexander Wurz since the French Grand Prix at Manicourt following his massive crash. He actually struggled massively in France, but pulled back in Spain with a good result there. 8th place he finished, and scored his first ever career point, as well as a good points for the Williams team. And up towards the line for Marc Genet, it's an improvement, and it's enough to get him ahead of Cristiano De Matter by a couple thousandths of a second, just behind Jacques Villeneuve. Will Chip Ganassi join F1 as they have a history with Montoya and IndyCar, as Montoya won the 99 Kart Championship? I've not heard any interest from the Chip Ganassi Corporation about their potential entry into Formula 1. I don't believe Formula 1 are also looking for too many entrants into the following seasons, as Ralf Schumacher there finding a bit of improvement. 100th of a second sees him remain in 10th position. 25 cars now have set lap times, with Shinji Nakano slowest of all, surprisingly, slower than the Minardi ahead of him by a whole second, although 2.5 seconds up now through the first 2 sectors. Certainly looks like he is going to be at least ahead of the Portuguese driver. Dan Weldon also fairly far down the order, although I believe that was just him in the foreground of your picture after just setting his first lap of the session. I think that was, yeah. Up towards the line there for Shinji Nakano. 23.6 sees him improve by 4 seconds. So yeah, much needed lap there for the Japanese driver, although it's not looking good for him to possibly make his way onto the grid, as that's another Red Bull mechanical failure. A gearbox failure this time round, and it's for Mark Webber. So both Red Bulls running into trouble. This is not looking good for the Austrian team.
Yeah, they really should just start looking into making cans at this point instead of engines, because this is the second one this session and it's just not looking good, is it?
No, an engine failure for Felipe Massa earlier on, and now a gearbox failure for Mark Webber. Is going to see the Red Bull team possibly struggle to get Mark Webber out there on circuit once again. He's not set a lap time so far, and with just 20 minutes remaining on the clock, it could be nip and tuck to actually see the Australian out on the circuit, and more importantly, setting a good enough time to get himself into the top 26. Of course, he's had limited running as well with an engine failure in practice, so this could be make or break for Mark Webber actually making it onto the grid, as there Montoya on an outlap. He's looking to start his lap. There's Fernando Alonso. Oh, he's into the wall. He's into the wall down at the first corner.
That surely can't be good. This is another failure just out of the pit lane.
It seems so. Another failure for Renault.
Terrible day for them then, if it's the second time they've managed to do that. And it is.
Oh dear.
It's hard into the wall.
Very hard into the wall there for Fernando Alonso. Can we get a... I don't think we can get one that's necessarily all too good to see what is happening. So he's just gone side on into the barriers, and it seems that he's caught it at a diagonal angle that has sent the car up rather than... yeah, that's going to be a massive rebuild there for the Renault team. Hopefully Alonso's alright from that crash. He should be, considering he's just hit a tyre barrier.
Yeah, but you have to think about it just... Oh, Jesus. But you have to think with how fast he went in there, like, at some point the tires do stop having their function. Because they have to check out with the medical team to see what it actually is.
See what happened here with Shinji Nakano. Seemed like
it's going to be a replay situation.
Yeah. My bad. Jensen Button out there on circuit. Whereabouts is he? There he is. On track in 12th place.
Oh!
What?
Another replay. I'm guessing might have been stranded there from trying to get back into the pit lane. I did see the yellow flag in the corner, but I didn't think it would be like that.
I think Mike Webber's failed to make it into the pits, and as such... Oh, a massive crash there. Seems that it's all coming...
Or nearly gets collected by the BAR there as well.
Dear me.
Absolute carnage into the final third of qualifying.
And that could also be a massive rebuild there for the Jaguar team, as they are now on the back foot as well.
Yeah, are we only gonna consider Alonso's crash there, or are we actually like gonna think about that?
Go back to you on that one. Montoya! Montoya's out on circuit! Yay! Montoya out on circuit. He's 2.3 seconds down through the first two sectors, so this lap is not looking like it's going to be a representative one per se by... by the Colombian. Montoya up towards the line, and what will he set? He say 1:22.8, and the first lap sees him 21st position, so he's definitely going to need to go again to secure safety for himself, as well as getting himself good enough position on the grid. I'm just writing down what I should do.
First off, ignoring what happened just there.
What are my thoughts of up-and-coming star Sebastian Vettel? I've never even heard of him. Thiago Montero looking for an improvement here in the final sector right now. He's currently on the bubble in 26th position. And up towards the line there for the Portuguese driver. A healthy improvement sees him just under 7 seconds away from provisional pole time, although it is not anywhere close to any other driver. So I imagine when Michael Schumacher and Ralph Furman head out on circuit. Whether Mark Webber can get back out there on circuit, then it could be tough viewing if you're a Thiago Monteiro fan. Of course, Scholt Baumgartner not with a representative lap time whatsoever. Maybe a problem on his car on his first lap. 13 seconds off the pace is definitely not representative of what the Minardi can do, even despite his lack of performance. Up towards the line there for Jarno Trulli, and I don't think he's just set a lap good enough. I think, yeah, the 119.3, so not improving on his lap time. 600ths down. Was it? Oh no, it's a 119.240, I think it was. Yeah, had to be. As Jacques Villeneuve in 7th place as of right now, stays 7th place despite improving by a 1/10 of a second. Rubens Barrichello looking to possibly joust his way possibly onto the front row. Of course, Alonso with his big crash, that could possibly see the end of his qualifying session. As the Brazilian driver has made a name for himself despite being signed as what many to believe as a second or right-hand man to Jarno Trulli. He's certainly been putting in some good performances, including his first win in 5 years after scoring his first 3 wins for Stewart in 1999, the last of those being at the Japanese Grand Prix. He finally secured his 4th victory of his Formula 1 career for car number 4 at the Bahrain Grand Prix, the inaugural one just 3 rounds ago. Barrichello will be looking to try and put himself into title contention, even if he's not necessarily there on raw pace, and the Brazilian improves to go still 3rd, but half a second away from the provisional pole time. Nick Heidfeld then has completed all of his qualifying laps, and as such will start no higher than 19th on the grid. So he's been out-qualified once again by Antonio Pizzonia. I imagine that Alonso will be on the grid because it's a tyre barrier that is hit. It's not like a concrete wall, and very clearly physics do not work, as that crash definitely showed us with the Renault just catapulting into the air like that.
Quarter of an hour till the end of the session.
Yeah, I do certainly hope that Wilden will go out again at some point this session and improve, because having Coulthard with his penalty and Weldon being that far down, it's not looking good so far.
It's not looking good for them right now. However, it is looking good right now for Nicolas Manassi. We'll not go on board with him as we'll watch Kimi Räikkönen complete his lap, but Manassi currently in 4th place in the Dams Lola Panos. He finds an improvement, half a 1/10 of a second, but it is not enough to get ahead of Rubens Barrichello. Kimi Räikkönen, though, with a good chance here of getting himself into the top 3. Not quite with the pole sitters, or rather the front row holders' times right now, as he's 2/10 of a second down on Jarno Trulli through the opening 2/3 of the lap and through the final corner for Kimi Räikkönen. And up towards the line for the Finn. And it is 3rd position, a 119.5, sees him 3 cents away from the fastest time set so far by Jarno Trulli. Sperrifico looking for a minor improvement, as well as Justin Wilson with problems to his car. He's got a gearbox failure in his Rose Toyota, so he's going to need to come back into the pits and get that sorted. Pretty sharpish if he wants any chance of making it out again for another lap in qualifying. As Sperrifico still in 6th place despite a minor improvement, 9/10 away from pole position as he tries to extend his gap over David Coulthard on in the fight for 6th provisionally on the grid. 13 minutes to go, and we're yet to see Michael Schumacher, Ralph Furman. We have seen Mark Webber, although he did not get to set a lap time.
You do have to hope that with 13 minutes to go, they do go out on track at some point, especially Schumacher second in the standings, because not qualifying at all will certainly hurt you.
Yeah, it maybe seems that Those three drivers, well, especially with Webber at least, are struggling at least with reliability problems, it could suggest maybe, as Baumgartner there with a 26.8, I think it was, across the line. He's 7.5 seconds off and remains in the bottom 4, so it's almost certain that he will be out in qualifying here today. Timo Glock, though, on track, as is his teammate Pedro de la Rosa. The two of them looking fairly decent in the midfield as they look to try and push themselves further up the order. Takuma Sato is next on the list for both Opels to try and out-qualify, although Glock needs to find a good amount of time. Does not, though, actually loses time on his qualifying lap, as Pedro de la Rosa out there on circuit, currently in 14th position and looking to find 0.3 of a second to move up ahead of the Japanese driver ahead of him, up towards the line then for the Opel man, and it will be a 121.5, an improvement but not enough to take him any higher in the standings. Montoya, though, will be looking to improve himself in the standings, as he's currently 7/10 down through the opening 2 sectors, so this could be, oh, a gearbox failure for Montoya. So, right as I was going to say he's within a chance of getting 6th place, maybe, onto the front 3 rows, it seems that a gearbox failure is going to put pay to another driver's qualifying session. There's been a lot of mechanical failures in this session, and Montoya coming a cropper of that one. He's down in 21st, and he's only got 10 more minutes to actually set a lap time, so it's going to be fairly nip and tuck to Williams actually getting that one fixed in time for their driver to actually get out there again and set a good enough lap to get possibly into the top 10. Speaking of the top 10, Marc Genet in 9th position, and he's looking to out-qualify his teammate Juan Pablo Montoya for the first time this season. The Spaniard, of course, at his home race would love another points finish on the board and help Williams in their fight with BAR, although with one arm time behind their back. Also, to be fair, BAR have also got one arm tied behind their back with Weldon down in 24th, although he is out on the circuit, so he's probably going to be looking to try and improve on his lowly grid position.
And I certainly hope so, or someone's going to be out of this car within the next couple of races.
Marc Genet there with an improvement, stays 9th place, as David Coulthard, as we were talking about him, also looking for an improvement. He's in 7th place and needs to find about a 10th to jump ahead of Sperrifico. He currently finds himself in a Toyota sandwich. Sperrifico ahead of Villeneuve behind, and Coulthard the meat in that sandwich, and he'll be looking to make amends with a good qualifying session. He is improving through the first 2 sectors, but it doesn't look like it's going to be much of an improvement, so he definitely doesn't look like he's going to be challenging Manassian at least. But out the final corner for David Coulthard, could it be enough to take him ahead of Sperrifico? I stand corrected, it is enough to get ahead of Manassian and Barrichello. Coulthard with a perler of a lap there, P4 for him right now, as Ralph Furman out there on circuit, 9.5 minutes to go.
Now you just gotta hope, of course, that Weldon can live up to the same level, at least within a second. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see for that one.
As out there on circuit, oh, I think that's Ralph Furman. He's going to get in the way of Dan Weldon here, I believe, as this could possibly put pay to what could have been a good lap here for Dan Weldon. We'll see what he's capable of doing, though. He's marginally up through that first sector, and he might be paying the price for the poor timing of Ralph Furman coming out of the pits, so we'll keep an eye on him. But for Antonio Pizzonia, he's looking to improve himself on the grid. He does not find an improvement, 3,000 slower in that lap, so he stays in 16th for now. We're seeing multiple drivers completing their qualifying sessions, most notably Cristiano De Mata, 10th position for him right now. Absolutely fantastic qualifying, if he can stay there, of course, as Dan Weldon is improving, 1.5 seconds up through the first 2 sectors, so this would probably put him around possibly the fringes of the top 10 if he can look for more pace in the final sector, although being held up by Ralph Furman wouldn't have done him any favours as he now makes his way through the last corner. 123.1 currently for the young Briton, and he'll be making his way up to the line now to go 12th fastest, 1.9 seconds off provisional pole, and it certainly was a hindered lap there for the Briton. He'll be looking to maybe try and get in and then back out on circuit again, as Ralph Furman not looking good through that first sector. He needs to find lap time, even though this is his banker lap, maybe trying to test out new parts that have only just been put onto the car after maybe some mechanical gremlins. Rubens Barrichello fails to improve, stays 5th. Coulthard's completed all of his laps, so he's no higher than 4th on the grid. Ralf Schumacher also finished, as well as D'Amata, Sato, De La Rosa, Heidfeld and Montero all finished with their qualifying sessions. 7.5 minutes to go, and Michael Schumacher still not out there on circuit. Jarno Trulli, though, purple through the first sector, as Ralf Furman and Nicolas Minassi, both the Dams Lola Panosas, completing the second sector. Ralf Furman, though, on a first lap, and not looking like he's going to be anywhere close to his teammate, who currently sits up in P6.
You do kind of have to worry for Michael's chances, though, because most of the time you see with these drivers that they struggle on the first run and only really set the proper time on their second run. But with 7 minutes to go now, it's going to be difficult to get that second one in.
Ralf Furman, 26th only. He's 2/10 behind Shinji Nakano as it currently stands, as Minassian finds an improvement. Can't quite get past Barrichello, but his teammate 20 places behind. And this could be a chance that that Shinji Nakano needs, to try and make himself onto the grid. If, of course, Ralf Furman doesn't set another lap time and Webber finds an improvement good enough, which it currently looks like he's going to. 1.4 seconds up, down on the current provisional pole time, and Shinji Nakano's also finding time on his lap, so this could be a chance for both Bootsons to make it onto the grid for the second time this season. Mark Webber then rounding the final couple of corners for the Australian, and despite his gearbox problems, he's going to make his way out the final corner and up towards the line to qualify 15th. Not bad from him, as he's 5 places ahead of his Brazilian teammate Felipe Massa. And rejoice, McLaren fans, as Michael Schumacher makes his way out onto the circuit with just 6 minutes remaining. I doubt this is going to be a brilliant lap from the German, but still he'll be looking for an improvement on lap time, as is Pantano and Montoya, both out on the circuit and both looking to try and get themselves at least into the top 20 as a bare minimum, maybe even the top 10 for Montoya as well, as Pantano now making his way through the last couple of corners. His teammate up in second after his massive crash, and this could be the chance that Giorgio Pantano needs to try and get himself further up the order. He's been struggling with qualifying so far this season, and 6th place on the grid. It's not great, but it's not bad either. A lot better than 21st, I can tell you that much. And he makes his way onto the front 3 rows of the grid, unless this man right here, Juan Pablo Montoya, can displace him in that part of the field. Although looking at his sector times, it could be suggesting that his battle is probably with the Toyotas. Up towards the line then for Juan Pablo Montoya, and it is in between the Toyotas. 9th place for him, as he currently finds himself half a second ahead of his teammate Marc Genet. Webber finds an improvement. He's up to 14th, as Michael Schumacher looking for a good first sector, and it isn't a bad one, you know. He's slightly up on Ricardo Sperrifico through that first sector, so this could be a lap time that could possibly put him in the realms of Giorgio Pantano on the grid, possibly maybe even Rubens Barrichello, but it's not looking good enough to try and maybe challenge for pole here today, as Michael Schumacher, with just 4 minutes left, you have to assume that he is going to be setting his one and only lap in this qualifying session, and that will be him one and done. And now Michael making his way through the penultimate corner and now the final corner, and what will the McLaren man be capable of doing up towards the line for the Silver Arrow? And it is 8th position for Schumacher. Pantano finds an improvement, 4th place for him, and he's just now 3/10 behind his teammate Fernando Alonso.
And to be honest, I expected a little bit more from Michael, but of course, like I said, his first run is not expected to be of top precision and pace that you could expect from him, as with anyone on this field.
And of course, with Michael's improvement to the 4th row of the grid, it's now put Shinji Nakano's qualification in doubt, as Timo Glock improves, stays 20th. Marc Genet also out there on circuit, as Mark Webber is also finding time. Patrick Friesacker also out there on circuit in the other boots, and he's currently in 25th place. And the current 4 in the dropout zone, it's Shinji Nakano, Ralf Furman, Thiago Monteiro and Zsolt Baumgartner. The biggest shock there in 28th position is the Dams Lola Panels driver of Ralf Furman, who is currently qualified for every race so far this season, and with the upgrades should definitely be looking to try and get himself into the top 10. With a 5th place last time out in Imola, he'll be definitely looking to try and make his way onto the grid if he possibly can. He's got about a minute in pocket to get there out on circuit as Michael Schumacher finds time, improves, ahead now of Manassian in 7th.
You're down at the second sector. Pit crew ready.
Pantano also looking for time. Could not find an improvement though on that lap as they now come a cropper to a Boutsen car. Dan Weldon out there on circuit as he's now fallen down to 16th. I don't know whether he's on a lap or not, or whether the Red Bull will be getting out of his way. He is into the box. I don't know if Dan Weldon's on a lap though. We'll figure out this as he now crosses the line. He's just starting a lap now, so this could be the lap that Dan Weldon needs to try and get himself maybe in the realms of his teammates, and hopefully a bit better than 16th on the grid. We'll see now through the first couple of corners and then through the right-hander, the long right. Very difficult on the left side of the car in terms of your tyre wear. Make sure not to overheat them too much as you make your way into the heavy braking zone of turn 4. Another long right-hander, and then get out onto the throttle as early as you possibly can. Make use of all the track to your left-hand side and then into the tight corner of turn 5. That's possibly one of the main overtaking opportunities on this circuit. Dan Weldon then through turn 6 and then 7 and 8 of the chicane, and then turn 9 camps a corner. A very dedicated corner this one, you've got to be, as the cones have been knocked over by someone there, not exactly sure who. Ralph Furman out there on circuit. Will he have enough time to start a lap? Not entirely sure, as Dan Weldon 6 tenths up through the first 2 sectors, so this lap time could be good enough to possibly challenge the top 10 as he now makes his way through the final couple of corners. 3 long right-handers to go. Make that 2 long right-handers to go. Make that 1 long right-hander to go as he now makes his way through the last corner. Very fast corner, 5th gear, 230 kilometers an hour for Weldon, and up towards the line, and it's 12th position for the Briton. A much more representative qualifying session from him, as now we look at Ralph Furman. Will it be Trellier? Will it be Nakano? Or will it won't be Nakano. Nakano's out, sorry. Will it be Trellier or will it be Furman making his way onto the grid here at the Spanish Grand Prix? Both of them have qualified for every single race so far this season, as Michael Schumacher looking for an improvement. He's 3 tenths down currently on current pole time. Jarno Trulli, who's in there in the pits right now. Both McLarens out there on circuit, although I don't think Kimi Räikkönen is going to have time to set another lap time. Ralph Furman then making his way to the second sector split, and he is up quite drastically. In fact, he's up by 2.5 seconds, so this could be problems down at Rose Toyota for Benoit Trellier, as he's now staring down the barrel of a possible non-qualification here today at Spain. Now through the final 2 corners for Ralph Furman, into the final corner for the Irishman, and will this be enough to keep Damsa's 100% qualification record? It will be. 9th place, and alongside his teammate on the grid, now sees Trellier fall into the bottom 4, and that will be qualifying, I imagine, as Dan Weldon I don't think is currently on a lap. No, he's into the pits, so there's confirmation then. Jarno Trulli on pole position here at the Spanish Grand Prix. Once again, a pole position for him, with Alonso alongside him on the front row. Räikkönen completing the top 3, with Pantano, Schumacher, Schumacher Senior, Coulthard and Barrichello, Manassian completing the top 8. Furman just getting that lap in at the death. 28th on the grid he was until that very last lap. Moves his way up to 9th, with Sferifico completing the top 10. Then Montoya in 11th in the lead. Williams ahead of Villeneuve in the second Toyota. Weldon, Genet and D'Amata with a great qualifying session in that Jaguar. 15th, with Ralf Schumacher, the reigning champion, down in 16th place. Another worrying qualifying session for him. He's going to have his work cut out for him if he wants to score points today. Webber was another driver within doubt of making his way onto the grid after gearbox problems. He qualifies in 17th, with Button alongside him on the 9th row, with Sato, De La Rosa completing the top 20. Then comes Glock, Pitsonia, Weldon, Massa down in 24th, with Heidfeld and Friesacker making it onto the grid. That means for the first time this season, Benoit Trellier fails to qualify in the Rose Toyota and makes it 3 non-qualifications for the team after Justin Wilson's Two non-qualifications so far this season. Shinji Nakano fails to make it onto the grid, as well as the two Minardis of Montero and Zsolt Baumgartner. Any surprises for you in that qualifying session, Jeffrey?
I mean, seeing that Weldon got up again is, I guess, surprising to me, but it's still kind of lacking in my opinion compared to his teammate Coulthard, who of course will be dropping down anyway, but yeah, I did kind of expect a bit more from that.
And of course, we've got grid penalties coming our way. Let me actually see which ones I wrote down. Where are they? Oh, here they are. So, Giorgio Pantano. Oh, my days. I didn't even realise. False alarm. Felipe Massa fails to qualify due to his engine penalty that he's received, of course, for his engine failure in the Red Bull. So Massa down in last place, and as such, Benoit Trellier, by the skin of his teeth, makes it onto the grid. So, grid penalties for Coulthard, taking him down to 16th, or rather, no, Pantano to 13th, Coulthard down to 15th, I think it'd be, for him, and... no, it'd be 10 places. So Pantano 14th, Coulthard 16th, and Massa out in the Red Bull. So the first time in their history that Red Bull failed to qualify is going to be at the Spanish Grand Prix of 2004. So join us in a few moments where we'll get the race underway. There we go. Well, do the commentators know anything about weather? I think not. We were going to say it was going to be sunny all weekend, and yet here we are on race day, and it is raining again. 2 races in a row now that we have seen rain, and Mike is in the car. He's in 4th place. So, current the running order, as you can see on the grid, is Trulli, Alonso, Raikkonen, Schumacher, who moves up a place, Barrichello, Manassian, Furman, Sperafico in the top 8, Montoya, Villeneuve, Weldon, Genet, D'Amata, Pansino down in 14th, with Ralf Schumacher splitting him and David Coulthard, who also falls down 10 places, Mark Webber in 17th, with Button, Sato, De La Rosa, Glock, Pittonia, Weldon, Heidfeld, Friesacker and Trellier benefiting from the Felipe Massa grid penalty, albeit given in controversial standing with his engine failure in the qualifying session, handing him a 10-place grid penalty. And that's also seen Shinji Nakano and the 2 Minardis of Montero and Joel Baumgartner also out of these qualifying, and now we're down to 26 for the race, 66 laps ahead of the drivers. Predictions in chat, as well as predictions for Jeffrey. Who's going to win today's race?
Of course, I'm going to hope it's one of the BARs that can climb up, even though they're so far down, as long as they can stay away from each other this race. Yeah, I think it might become a battle between Trulli and Alonso, maybe Michael, who can get up there.
We have seen often Michael Schumacher, a master in these sorts of conditions, as we've been told that it will remain rainy for a majority of this race. For the foreseeable future, we imagine to see the same amount of downfall in this session, as Michael Schumacher now rounds the final corner, makes his way onto the grid. Thunder's actually starting to go off, so you know it's probably not going to be going away anytime soon. Patrick Friesacker win, Wilson win, Furman Funny win, great, absolutely fantastic. What else have we got? Raikkonen win. I'd say Raikkonen win is, give or take, slightly more realistic than Wilson or Friesacker. To be fair, I have no plans of doing the real life 2005 tyre rule because I just don't know how to do it. It's the only problem.
I mean, Hakkinen might be a pundit from the sidelines somewhere in the paddock, but I don't think he would have any real say on what the tyre change even would bring to the sport at this point.
Yeah, I don't think there's going to be any tyre change, no tyre change rule coming in for 05, unlike real life, because, yeah, I don't know, you can't really simulate that on a F1 challenge, really. Because when they pit, they kind of have to take fuel and tyres every time. Which is a bit of a shame, but yeah, it's how it is. Have you considered starting knowing? Mo. Don't worry, Nils. I'm equally just as lost. Nick Heidfeld told over the radio, rain will continue for quite a long time, so just be cautious. I also, my favourite part about this track is the this camera right here. This is the camera for the starting grid. Who made these cameras? That's my question.
I wonder if it's possible in the code to make them actually, like, track the cars instead of being still.
There is a way, I just don't know, and this is where Tom says, have you tried starting knowing again? What about the V8 rule change for 08? I believe in real life that was 2006, and there is no plan of also changing it as of right now, of course, because we've just gone on to a new regulation of engines. So, yeah. Get ready for Peugeot in 2005. Kyo, they've just left. They've just left just over a year ago. I don't think they want to join back.
Yeah, I don't think the manufacturers will be all too happy if the current engines get binned within the next 5 seasons, because all that money spent into it would just be gone with the snap of their fingers. And I don't think they would really be happy with that.
No. Here we see home driver Fernando Alonso. The Renault team have done a great job in repairing that car after he totaled it down at turn 1 thanks to a brake failure that he had at the first corner. His teammate Giorgio Pantano running into similar problems with an engine failure, seeing him fall down 10 places on the grid. It's the first time that we've actually seen engine penalties take place in Formula 1 this season.
And unless I'm mistaken, I believe that should be everyone on the grid now.
Let me just check. And yes, we are ready to go. 66 laps then. Ready ahead of the drivers. Without further ado, let's get it on the way.
Hello there. Welcome to Spain. The weathermen are predicting rain all weekend, which will really provide some action out on the track. Truly first. Alonso second. Raikkonen looks a carbon copy of his teammate. He starts alongside in third. The McLaren driver put on a fantastic display throughout the qualifying hour. He starts this race from a very promising fourth. Barrichello fifth.
Nicolas Menaciron.
Sixth. Ralph Berman seventh.
Ricardo Sperafico.
8th. Juan Pablo Montoya, 9th. Jack Villeneuve, 10th.
Dan Weldon.
11th. Marc Genet, 12th. Cristiano Damata, 13th. Giorgio Pantel, 14th. Ralph Schumacher, 15th. Coulthard, 16th. Mark Webber, 17th. Button, 18th. Beto, 19th. Pedro de la Rosa, 20th. Schumacher, 21st. Antonio Pizzonia, 22nd. Justin Wilson, 23rd. Heidfeld, 24th.
And with Free-Saka and Trellier on the back row of the grid, it is time to go racing here at Circuit Barcelona Catalunya. There are the lights ahead of the drivers, and the lights are now green. There's racing to be seen. It seems that everyone's got away well, I believe, as now they head down the main straight side by side between Alonso and Trulli, and Alonso's got the greater launch down towards turn 1. Side by side, it's Renault versus Ferrari. Contact between the pair of them, and Alonso's taken the lead in his home race. The home crowd have gone absolutely jubilant. There's crash further back, I believe, between Ralf Schumacher and Marc Genet, but it's Alonso that's hit the front. Michael Schumacher has moved ahead of his teammate as Manassian's dispatched of Rubens Barrichello. Trulli looking towards the inside, though. He's going to try and find his way up the inside. Can't find his way, as there, Marc Genet without a rear wing, the Honda without a front wing. As up the inside, that's Pedro de la Rosa making up a number of places. I think further back as well, there is slow-moving traffic. We'll get a replay of what just happened down at turn 1.
It's impossible to see anything in these conditions, but it's just a senseless dive from him, really. Just trying to dive it into there when you could not see a single thing.
Yeah. Honda's probably going to claim that the sprays definitely caused problems there for Ralf Schumacher, but we'll have to wait and see with the stewards whether they decide that the German requires a penalty for his trouble. As David Coulthard's had an awful start. He's down to 21st. He's going to make his way through there on one of the Brabhams. He's also up the inside of the other Brabham as well. That's Nick Heidfeld that he's side by side with. As there, Giorgio Pantano and Dan Weldon dispatch of, that is Marc Genet. Oh, and Justin Wilson's lost his front wing as well. Timo Glock's crashed into the back of him. So more trouble on this front first lap. We'll get a replay of what's just happened there. Oh no, just a lack of grip there for Timo Glock to stop in time. He's crashed into the back of Justin Wilson there. That means we're up to already 2 retirements in this race. Michael Schumacher wide there through the last corner. That's going to open up the opportunity through the spray for Kimi Raikkonen to get through on his teammate. Although Michael's got the advantage on the straight line compared to his teammate, it seems. Here goes Jarno Trulli looking towards the inside of Fernando Alonso. Nearly contact between the two. Respectful racing, but Alonso's going to hold on to this one through the first chicane. As Nicolas Minassian's also putting pressure on the 2 McLarens. Where has this pace come from? From the Frenchman? Not exactly sure. But Ralph Furman's also putting pressure on the Ferrari of Rubens Barrichello. So maybe the wet conditions certainly playing a part in pace advantage for the Damslola Panos team. As Ralf Schumacher into the box for the wet tyres.
Yeah, and with that choice of tyre, it seems like the weather is actually getting worse than what it was at lights out. So might have to think about if the other drivers are just going to stop regardless at some point.
Big gainers then up and down the grid. Webber up to 11th. De La Rosa from 20th to 13th. Heidfeld from 24th on the grid. He's up in 16th now. And Trellier's made up 7 places as well. Friesacker up 5. And the biggest losers, obviously, those that crashed on the first lap with Ralf Schumacher and Timo Glock down the order as Jarno Trulli's taken the lead. We weren't looking at the race lead and Alonso's lost out. Let's get a replay of that. Is it a mistake from Alonso, or is it just sheer excellence from Jarno Trulli? It doesn't seem like Alonso's done anything wrong, and Jarno Trulli has caught Alonso napping there up the inside. A bit of contact between the two, a bit of wheel banging, but Trulli's forced his way through, and now he's up into the race lead. Can he now pull away, as Mark Webber has just dispatched of Juan Pablo Montoya for 10th?
Yeah, you would not really be able to say that he was ahead by the apex there, but he got past nonetheless, so as long as they don't kill each other in the race, I think it should all be good.
Ralph Furman really desperate there to get past Rubens Barrichello, is really struggling for pace in these opening parts of this race, as Michael Schumacher is now putting pressure on Fernando Alonso for the race lead. The Spaniard losing time hand over fist to Jarno Trulli, as there's been a crash down at turn 1. It's Barrichello, he's been spun round. We'll get a replay of what's just happened there in a second. As Rubens Barrichello's now fallen down to 11th.
At least it still seems fully intact, so it can't have been too big of an impact.
Let's see what happened then. Was it the contact possibly between Ralph Furman and Rubens Barrichello? And Barrichello, I don't think, has really spotted Ralph Furman in his mirrors there. Contact as well with the Toyota. And I feel like there's very little that Furman could have done in that situation. With Barrichello braking so early, as Michael Schumacher is now dispatched of Fernando Alonso for 2nd place. So the Spaniard falling down place after place after his early start, or his fast start to this race, taking the race lead, is now falling into the clutches of Raikkonen to possibly fall off the podium. Hello, Gallifreyan, Faith, and Jose as well, sorry. You've just joined us on lap 3 of the Spanish Grand Prix, where it is raining quite heavily as Justin Wilson makes his way into the box, finally to replace his, never mind, he's to retire, of course, with that collision with Timo Glock he had. As Ralf Schumacher and Timo Glock have both been given a 5 second time penalty for their collisions with Genet and Wilson respectively, as their races are almost certainly ruined from here on in. Both now down the order, as here is Jacques Villeneuve now putting pressure on his teammate Riccardo Speraffico. There's been questions over who should pair Giancarlo Fisichella when the Italian returns. Of course, Speraffico with that contract, but Villeneuve with the results. There's collision between the two. Speraffico closing the door on his teammate Jacques Villeneuve, and I imagine the 1997 world champion is not going to be happy one bit with the Brazilian's antics. He's sent it up the inside towards turn 4 and moves ahead of his rookie teammate. That's Jacques Villeneuve now up into 6th position, as Mark Webber has made his way up another place. He's up into the points ahead of Ralph Furman. Hello Chris, welcome in to the stream. Hope everyone is doing well so far. I know someone who isn't doing well is Fernando Alonso. He's falling back as Cristiano De Mata has just overtaken Rubens Barrichello. What has happened to Rubens Barrichello? He's lost another couple of places. He's down to 14th now and he's under the pressure of a penalty-ridden Giorgio Pantano. See what happened then with Cristiano De Mata.
Did he get punted round again?
I'll have to wait and see, but this has already been a torrid time so far for Rubens Barrichello. And he has done indeed. That's the second time that Barrichello's gone round. And it's at the expense, due to colliding with his compatriot Cristiano De Mata. And Barrichello's race goes from bad to worse. He's fallen down to 14th now.
Yeah, it really has to be saving by now. In that car, you really should not be that far down, but I guess he has been more helped down there instead of by his own fault. So.
As there, Dan Weldon battling with Pedro de la Rosa in the Opel. He forces him wide through turn 10, the reprofiled turn 10 that is. And now Weldon up to 12, as now Kimi Raikkonen looks for a move on Fernando Alonso through the first couple of corners. The Renault just about holding him off, as here is Michael Schumacher on the rear diffuser of Jarno Trulli for the race lead. He's going to suggest a move towards the inside there. Collision between the pair of them, Trulli and Schumacher dueling. This is not the first time this season that we've seen these two go wheel to wheel. And Schumacher massively putting pressure on Jarno Trulli. Raikkonen, though, has got through on Alonso. Alonso now down to 4th, and now under pressure from Manassian for 4th. For 4th. There's been a chaotic start to the Spanish Grand Prix, as Michael Schumacher just 2/10 behind Jarno Trulli here on lap 5. He's looking for a way through on Jarno Trulli towards the inside of the reprofiled turn 10. Surely not from that far back, Michael. He has made the move, and Michael Schumacher takes the lead here. From 4th on the grid, he's now in the lead just 4 laps later. Trulli has got absolutely no response to Michael Schumacher's pace right now, as the German is pulling away. You have to assume this is possible shades of 1996 for Michael Schumacher as he sets the fastest lap of the race, a 1 minute 30.485. Let's see how much faster he is compared to those around him. He's a second a lap faster than Jarno Trulli at this current pace. Any news on chassis regulation change for 09? That is a long time away. A very long time away. As Giorgio Pantano has now overtaken Rubens Barrichello, as Dan Weldon and now finding why the Opel is so frustrating to battle against. Very quick in the straight line, not very quick in the corners. So once again, De La Rosa up to 12th in this race, as Cristiano De Mata is in 11th place. He's just 3 places away from the points, and he's got a good shot of possibly scoring some championship points. There, Speraffico looking to retaliate on his teammate Jacques Villeneuve for that 6th position. Mark Webber's also getting involved in the Red Bull, and the 3 now converging on one another at 4th to try and bag 3 points in this race. Alonso, though, on now the back of Kimi Raikkonen in the battle for 3rd. They're now 7 seconds off the lead. There's collision between the 2 rising stars of Formula 1, Alonso versus Raikkonen, and Alonso's wanting to put on a show for his home crowd. Raikkonen, though, with that inside line and the shorter run through the corner is going to keep him ahead of Alonso for now. Manassian on a watching brief, though, in that battle for the final podium place, as Michael Schumacher consistently putting in now fastest lap laps of the race, but not necessarily losing Jarno Trulli at the rate of knots that we were expecting.
Could Minardi be dropping off the grid in 05? Yeah, it's rather the question if they could even stay on the grid for 05 if they even had the chance, because it's not really looking that good. That's going by race basis at this point. That at worst, they could really be gone next race if they really had to.
As Dan Weldon has now been overtaken by the Renault of Giorgio Pantano. The Renault now seemingly on the back of Pedro de la Rosa in the Opel, who is in turn looking for a move here on Cristiano de Mata's Jaguar. He's really struggling for pace after his good start to the Grand Prix, and the Brazilian overtaken by one of the home drivers here, and de la Rosa in the Opel up to 11th position. Cristiano de Mata demoted down to 12th. Sparrofico has now overtaken his teammate Jacques Villeneuve. Maybe this could put the Canadian under pressure of Mark Webber, not exactly sure, but the Red Bull did go for a move there on Jacques. Can't find his way through as Benoit Trulli overtaking Jenson Button to get himself into the top 20. Jarno Trulli just a 10th behind Michael Schumacher as they begin lap 7. Fastest lap of the race for the Ferrari man as he now looks into the slipstream of Michael Schumacher. Will not be finding his braking point too easily though in the spray, as now Fernando Alonso keeping with Kimi Räikkönen as of right now, trying to look towards the inside in towards turn 1 as they continue to drop Nicolas Minassian behind. Oh no, Nicolas Minassian from 6th position is out of the race. What a shame for the Frenchman, who was up in 5th position and looked like a possible outside shot for a podium finish. Is going to be out of the race. The man has absolutely no luck, who despite Alonso being slow in the first couple of laps, he's actually got past Kimi Räikkönen. He's back up to 3rd.
Yeah, really unfortunate there. At least he was far enough off the line to not be collected by other cars passing by, as we saw. So, if anything, it's the best of the worst case scenario.
Meanwhile, all this squabbling for what is now 5th place in this race is now gaining time on the rest of the field, as now Jarno Trulli has re-overtaken Michael Schumacher. I assume it's down at turn 10, so he's gotten through on Michael just the way that Michael got through on him. So Barrichello also making his way up the order as David Coulthard moves his way up ahead of his teammate, the two BARs 13th and 14th.
Let's hope that ends well.
Oh, Raikkonen up the inside of the final corner. Surely not. That would almost be a death sentence for both Alonso and Raikkonen, and that would open the door for either Toyota to try and score a podium in this race if the two of those crashed out. As now Raikkonen, with the straight line speed advantage towards turn 1, is going to look towards the inside into the first corner. Collision between the Spaniard and the Finn, and Alonso's going to keep hold of that one for now as the battling between the Toyotas continues, with Michael Schumacher getting ahead of their Jarno Trulli as the two former teammates see each other on the track. Ralf Schumacher and Jarno Trulli, those two not the best of friends, and obviously brother of Michael Schumacher is Ralf, has possibly aided his brother into getting back into the lead of this race. Obviously that's not the first time that we've seen suspension failure for the Dams Lola Panos team. Of course, several times so far this season we've seen suspension failures for the French outfit, and now Ralph Furman will have that in the back of his mind as he is now up into the points as Barrichello is off down at turn 2, and it's ended in a torrid day. He's in the barrier down at turn 2 and he's out of the race. Barrichello, 4th retirement of this race, a brake failure it seems for the Brazilian, and he retires from this race. He was up into the top 10, and yeah, unfortunately for Barrichello, his race is going to come to an abrupt halt on lap 9. It's been an absolutely shocking race for Barrichello, who now finds himself at the side of the road.
At least he's lucky enough to have had the failure midway through the corner instead of at the start of it, because otherwise we'd have to start picking him off from the place where Alonso found himself in the wall.
Giorgio Pantano has overtaken Cristiano D'Amata, the Italian now up into the top 10. He's got 10 seconds now to make up to Juan Pablo Montoya, who in turn is about 5 seconds behind, as they're Dan Weldon battling with his teammate David Coulthard. But must have got past his more experienced teammate at some point during the lap, as the gap between the front two once again closes. Trulli sticking with Michael Schumacher throughout this early stint. Arrows would not be able to come back because they were bought out by Toyota at the halfway through the 2000 season, and then became Toyota in 2002 from Arrows. So yeah, no Arrows is possible. As there, Jarno Trulli once again. Yeah, Jarno Trulli once again making good use of that new reprofiled turn 10 to get past Michael Schumacher, as there Alonso looking towards the inside of Kimi Raikkonen, as Sperrifico has also overtaken his teammate Jacques Villeneuve. No lack of overtakes in this one, as we've seen plenty of battling up and down the field. Michael Schumacher in the slipstream once again, as Jarno Trulli sets the fastest lap of the race. If you want to find out news about whether any teams are coming in for 2005 and possible later seasons, as there Michael Schumacher makes contact with Jarno Trulli, be sure to join the Discord, as there'll be more information on that sort of information in the announcements part of the server. As there, Jarno Trulli and Michael Schumacher look to dispatch, I think that's one of the Rose Toyotas, Benoit Trellier. I'm led to believe that is, as obviously Justin Wilson's out, so he's the last remaining Rose Toyota in this race. And the two look towards the inside at Kampse corner.
Yeah, they both lost time there, but at least it was both of them and not one just peeling away from there, so I guess they dealt with it nicely. Yeah,
now they're going to crawl up to the back of a number of lap cars just in front of them. That would be a train led by Antonio Pizzonia in the Brabham that leads Heidfeld, Friesacker, Button and Sato, who will all be about to be lapped on the end of lap 11. Alonso then getting straight back past Kimi Raikkonen as the two continue to duel for the final podium place, but Ralf Schumacher getting in the way of Fernando Alonso, and as such Raikkonen takes advantage, retakes that final podium place.
Yeah, you just absolutely got boxed in there by both cars there, so he really had nowhere to go except for waiting for the opportunity to get past himself.
And maybe this is the opportunity that Kimi Raikkonen needed to try and bolt away from the home hero. A gap of about a second between the two as they enter the first braking zone on the circuit. Alonso, though, seemingly with the pace advantage over Kimi Raikkonen at this current pace.
I'm very happy to confirm that Audi is not thinking of putting diesels in their car in any point in the near future.
I think they'd get disqualified if they did that. As Michael Schumacher continues to pile the pressure on Jarno Trulli as they start to deal with lap traffic. That's Jenson Button just in front of Michael Schumacher in 18th position, the Jaguar man. And the two of Trulli and Schumacher slowly but surely making their way through this lap traffic, as Alonso once again has gotten past his teammate Kimi Raikkonen. Villeneuve and Sperrifico still battling, but no entrance for Mark Webber to try and make it a 3-horse race for 5th position so far. As a gap further back, David Coulthard has now overtaken Giorgio Pantano. A lot of overtakes that we're actually not seeing on circuit because there's so much to watch. As it currently stands on lap 13, we're nearly at a quarter race distance in this one. Jarno Trulli leads the way by a second ahead of Michael Schumacher. Alonso and Raikkonen pretty much nose to tail in the battle for third, with Villeneuve heading a train of Sperrifico, Webber and Ralph Furman from 5th to 8th. Montoya just outside the points with Coulthard in the top 10. Pantano, Weldon, D'Amata and De La Rosa currently on the lead lap with Heidfeld, Friesacker, Pitsonia, Button, Sato, Trellier, Ralf Schumacher and Glock, the final 2 on wets, and the remainder of those drivers all a lap down. 4 retirements so far: the Ferrari of Barrichello, the Dams of Manassian, the Rose of Wilson, and the Williams of Marc Genet. As there, Sperrifico looking to try and get round the outside of his teammate, switch to the inside for turn 3 as his teammate tries to block that sort of move from happening. Ralf Furman and Mark Webber looking to try and get involved in that battle as there. Sperrifico goes up the inside again. These two battling hammer over tongue in that battle for 5th place. And Mark Webber seemingly unable to challenge either one of the Toyotas as there. Villeneuve once again defensive into turn 5. I will say I have got a list written down of potential teams to come in for future seasons, but yeah, I'm not going to be sharing those anytime soon. Obviously, we're focusing on the 2004 season right now, as here Alonso is still behind Kimi Räikkönen. Villeneuve again getting past Riccardo Sperrifico. As there, that's Räikkönen going wide in the wake of, that's Takuma Sato in the Honda there.
Yeah, you got absolutely held up by the car in front there, and that just gave the opportunity to Alonso this time to get past, unlike the last time where he just got boxed in by the two.
And Ferrari ready into the pits at the end of lap 14. Restop strategy, anyone? That's for Jarno Trulli. He's going to be into the box at the end of this lap. So Michael Schumacher is going to assume his race lead at the end of this one. Alonso into the box as well. So we'll see how many are going to be into the box this early on. Cristiano D'Amata's planning on boxing. And maybe the McLarens were showing a bit extra pace than what we expected. The two of them going longer than their rivals out on circuit. Jarno Trulli, first one into the box this race for a scheduled pit stop.
And they are going on to the full wet tires, so yeah, I think it is still getting worse out there, even though I was thinking that it was getting slightly lighter, really.
So this is almost certainly the same scenario that we were in San Marino, where those that boxed ended up going onto the wet tyres, as Ralf Schumacher running at a similar pace to his teammate Takuma Sato, with those two on different tyres, as Nick Heidfeld falling down the order a little bit. He's down into the wall at turn 3, and I think Nick Heidfeld's out of this race. The 5th retirement on lap 15, and Nick Heidfeld, the Brabham driver, out. It seems like a suspension failure there for Nick Heidfeld. He's out the race, going straight on at turn 3, and a massive shame for him, as he was running fairly well right behind his teammate.
Yeah, it just looked like with that failure there, he just had no chance to slow down at all. Especially now that we know that's a brake failure.
The two BARs battling there with Giorgio Pantano as Mark Webber and Ralf Furman enter the pits. That's a pit stop battle between Dams and... who is that? Red Bull, of course. So, Dams into the box then. And onto the wet tyres, as is the remainder of the field. And a much faster stop there from the Red Bull pit crew sees him jump ahead still of the Irishman of Ralf Furman, although David Coulthard rejoining in the points ahead of the pair of them, as Sperrifico and Villeneuve continue to joust for their 5th position.
A decent recovery race for Coulthard so far. Of course, he is yet to pit, but at least he's up into the points positions as it stands.
Dan Weldon up the inside there of, that is Mark Webber, who's just come out the pit lane onto the wet tyres. The intermediate certainly being the tyre of choice right now for Dan Weldon, as he makes that overtake look fairly easy on the Australian. Patrick Friesacker also overtaking Antonio Pizzonia, and he is now up into 15th place. 50 laps to go in this one, and we are far from done with racing action as the two Toyotas continue to battle for 5th place in this race. Let's actually get a look at what the lap times actually show. Never mind, Alonso and Trulli still on that slower lap time because they've just pit, so we'll have to wait for them to cross the line. But Mark Webber and Ralph Furman in the 36s, the two Toyotas collide with one another. Fortunately, no time, not too much time lost between the two of them, although these two battling each other surely has to end in tears at this current rate. Michael Schumacher into the box then on the end of lap 16, so he's not gone much longer than Jarno Trulli. This is going to give the lead, I think, possibly to his teammate Kimi Räikkönen. Oh, this could actually be fairly close between the two of them. Räikkönen's also in, so the two McLarens are in at the same time. They're going to be double stacking essentially as Michael Schumacher exits the pit lane onto the wet tyres and ahead, most importantly, of Jarno Trulli. The overcut working quite handsomely there for the 5-time world champion as he's jumped ahead of Jarno Trulli by, what, approximately 3 or 4 seconds. 5.2 seconds is the gap, 4.3. So I was about correct with that one. Räikkönen also looking for an overcut on Fernando Alonso. And he exits the pit lane. It's going to be fairly close between them, closer than the top two, but Räikkönen stays out in front.
Yeah, I'm decently surprised both McLarens went in on the same lap, because usually you don't see teams making a double stack in a race because some kind of limitation in their systems preventing them from doing so usually.
As Giorgio Pantano there overtaking David Coulthard down at turn 10. The Renault driver up into the points. The two of Coulthard and Pantano doing well to recover from their grid penalties, of course, with Dan Weldon now a little bit with a run on his teammate David Coulthard towards turn 1. We'll see if this musters up into anything as they head towards the first corner. He's got to outbrake him by a long way to make this overtake. Of course, these two collided last time out in San Marino, so these two better be careful with one another. They are, and not unlike the Toyotas though, who are continuing to battle, and Sparrow once again ahead of his teammate Jacques Villeneuve. So these two continuing to battle for supremacy at Toyota, and this could almost be symbolic of the situation at Toyota, of course, with Fisichella expected to return in the next couple of rounds, as Villeneuve is expected to, at least contractually, is expected to move aside for the Italian, and then it's Fisichella and Sperrifico in the car for however long Toyota feel is necessary. Yeah, Mika Häkkinen's coming back in 2025 for Aston Martin alongside Fernando Alonso. Yeah.
Some say the team at that point will be managed by one man James Early, but I don't know, it's just pure guesswork there.
As the two dispatched there of their customer team, Rose Toyota of Benoit Trellier, Villeneuve with a bit better of a run towards turn 1 than his teammate Riccardo Sperrifico. He's going to try and outbrake him. No cigar there for the Canadian as he stays behind. These two currently the two leaders of those that haven't boxed, although the four in front have boxed and remained comfortably ahead of this duo. There, Villeneuve again up the inside of his teammate Sperrifico. These two cannot be separated at all in this Grand Prix, and as such Villeneuve once again up to 5th position. It'll be interesting to see if either one of these are on a heavier fuel stop compared to the other, although it would be a bit, not surprising if these two were pretty much on the exact same fuel load, as Villeneuve trying to break ahead of Sperrifico, but it's almost seemingly no use. Sperrifico sticking to him like glue as they now head towards turn 10.
With these tires, surely at some point it's got to go wrong, because as a team manager, surely you've got to get on the radio at some point to just get them out of each other.
As their collision between Villeneuve and Sperrifico on the exit of turn 10, Sperrifico really wanting to continue battling with his world champion teammate. This is absolutely chaotic between these two, it has to be said, and like you said, it's almost certainly going to end in a crash sooner or later between the two Toyotas if they don't sort it out. Meanwhile, further back, Giorgio Pantano, David Coulthard, Mark Webber, Dan Weldon and Ralph Furman have all caught up to the back of Juan Pablo Montoya, so a six-car train? Yeah, six-car train now for 7th position as Giorgio Pantano looks to overtake the Williams BMW of Juan Pablo Montoya down this back main straight, and Montoya up the inside, the left side of your picture, makes his way up ahead of Juan Pablo Montoya. He's now got a long way to catch up to the two Toyotas, but if these two keep battling, then I imagine it won't be voice crack. I imagine it won't be too long until the Italian is challenging those two for the top 5.
Where truly Trey, yeah, you'd kind of have to get him in a bit slower car to be able to achieve that. If anything, he's trying to trail behind Schumacher at this point.
Yeah, Trulli still with the fastest lap at this current stage. We haven't actually been checking on whether the wets or the intermediates are faster. It seems that Schumacher and Trulli are not quite at the pace that they were on the intermediates, although they are still considerably faster than the rest of the field. Over second faster than third place man Kimi Raikkonen. The fastest intermediate runner at this current stage, Jacques Villeneuve, on a 1:34.6. That's 3 seconds slower currently than the fastest wet runner. So the wets seemingly starting to be the tyre of choice, I imagine, as the rain continues to deluge down here in Barcelona. BAR ready in the pits. Is it for Coulthard? Is it for Weldon? We'll figure this out in 3, 2, 1. It is for Dan Weldon. He's into the box from 11th position. So he's going for the undercut, especially with this massive train that is currently led by Juan Pablo Montoya. It's pretty smart, almost certainly, there that he gets out of the traffic and tries to put in better pace than the cars around him. Rain to clear. Did that say it on the radio? I missed that, if that was the case. Yeah, David Coulthard currently behind Juan Pablo Montoya, certainly has the pace over him, as does the rest of the people in this train, as Montoya was about 10 seconds up the road once Cristiano De Mata was cleared, I think was the main cork in the bottle before they started chasing down on Montoya. There, Mark Webber looking to try and get through on David Coulthard. No, just a guess. Professional weatherman in chat. FF359-03U. I'm an untrained meteorologist out here in the rain. As here, David Coulthard has now got a run on Juan Pablo Montoya towards the inside. Montoya tries closing the door on the world champion of 2000, but Coulthard's having none of that. He's sent it firmly up the inside, and the intermediate runner of David Coulthard getting past the fellow intermediate shot of Juan Pablo Montoya to make his way up into the points. Next on the radar is Giorgio Pantano, who surprisingly, despite his good pace, has not been pulling away from Juan Pablo Montoya one bit, as they're one of the Rose Toyotas in the way. That's Trellier once again. He's down in 20th place right now. And Coulthard maybe with a run towards turn 1. No, he wouldn't have the chance, as what's this, 5 cars at this point, because Dan Weldon bit nose to tail in their battle for 7th. One does simply not shut the door on Coulthard and his jaw. That is the most real message I have seen this whole year, as David Coulthard has once again overtaken another car. He's overtaken Giorgio Pantano. So the Coulthard, yes, we'll go with the David Coulthard, is on the fire in the BAR around the Spain. Maybe he can be the driver that catches up to the battling duo of the Toyotas.
So of course, as assuming he's not on a similar race strategy as his teammate.
Oh, and Coulthard's been tipped round by Giorgio Pantano. Oh, dear me. And Coulthard's going to be raging in the helmet, I imagine. He's going to fall down a number of places. He's down to 11th position. And Pantano may cop a penalty for that one. Did anyone say Spain without the A? I think Giorgio Pantano just ordered David Coulthard a serving of spin. Whee! Very well timed.
If anything, I'm in a Spain without the S at this point.
David Coulthard then down to 11th. His jaw could not withstand the Italian of the year of 2001, 2002 and 2003, as now Mark Webber is putting pressure on Juan Pablo Montoya for that final points position. The Australian, who wasn't even sure if he'd even make it onto the grid after his gearbox failed in qualifying, is now into the points on the wet tyres, no less. So the wet's really proving to be a useful tyre for Mark Webber, as it's in here. Yes. Giorgio Pantano has been awarded a 5-second time penalty, as now Webber's overtaken Giorgio Pantano as well. So the Red Bull is absolutely flying now that David Coulthard is out the way, and Giorgio Pantano seemingly struggling for pace despite being in that ever impressive Renault. He's holding up Montoya and Furman, it seems, or maybe I don't exactly know what's going on, but it's now Pantano looking towards the inside of Webber. Fortunately, this time round, no contact between the two. As Villeneuve into the box, we've finally seen a split between the two Toyotas. Absolute rejoice, as the Toyota team boss will no longer be pulling his hair out. Saying that, I think there's another Toyota team up there ready to serve another Toyota car. So Sperrifico is going to be into the box fairly sharpish. Villeneuve then out the box, and most importantly, ahead of the massive train led by now Mark Webber in 7th.
With the forecast of dry weather in 20 minutes, I think it's quite ambitious, seeing as it's only seeming to get worse at this point.
I don't think it is forecast to stop raining, to be honest. I think
according to our qualified weatherman, it's different.
I'd like to see some certification on that, on your meteorologist degree, as there Giorgio Pantano overtaking Mark Webber as race leader Michael Schumacher starts to lap up to the points paying positions. And Pantano saying that Mark Webber has a fat skill issue, says the man who's in the faster Renault and has just been overtaken by him previously. Michael Schumacher being boxed off now by Giorgio Pantano, so the Italian losing his head a little bit. The championship leader, of course, now being lapped by the man currently second in the championship, and as it currently stands, Schumacher will take the lead of the drivers' standings, as Michael Schumacher now starting to get closed in on by Jarno Trulli. But look at the train that beholds Jarno Trulli in this one, as now Ralph Furman's just overtaken Mark Webber and Montoya throughout that chaos. He's now on the back of Giorgio Pantano and into the points. Pantano is almost certainly driving in his mirrors at this point, as now Ralph Furman on the back of the Renault and looking to try and get through, as Sperrifico is now boxed and is rejoined ahead of his teammate. Montoya now overtaking Mark Webber down the main straight, struggling to see much, as now Ralph Furman looking towards the outside of Giorgio Pantano. We've not seen many moves made round the outside of turn 2, but a good one there from the Irishman, as he now looks to try and consolidate his 7th place in this race with just under 40 laps to go. The two Toyotas as well that have just pit, still battling one another in front of the race leader, and have now been joined in this battle by the people who were battling for 7th earlier. So this massive train of cars is now going straight from 5th all the way down to 12th. Not 12th, 11th, sorry. As so that is a 7-car train? Yeah, so Toyota once again fighting one another. So name something more iconic. Toyotas and fighting one another for meaningless lower points positions while they're nowhere near anyone else. Pantano lapped by Jarno Trulli. The gap had actually fallen to within a second between the top two as Mark Webber has re-overtaken Juan Pablo Montoya. This battle is certainly something to behold between all these drivers as Mark Webber makes his way up into 9th. As, the gap between Trulli and Schumacher had dropped to less than a second, but all this lap car nonsense has certainly cost Trulli a little bit, as that's Sperrifico, and there's Furman getting past the Toyota man. So we're finally going to see the Toyotas split for the first time in this race, thank goodness, as the Irishman now makes his way up into 6th. Coulthard ahead of Montoya, the Williams man, now outside the top 10.
Yes, so after that spin being up in P10, but still in the Inter tires. Speaking of the devil, he's going into the pit lane this time by, so I guess we'll have to see how far down he drops.
Button getting past Antonio Pizzonia in the battle for 14th, as I believe it said Brabham were ready in the pit, so I assume it is Antonio Pizzonia, considering he's the sole remaining Brabham left in this race, and it is the Brazilian into the box. And the Brabham man, thanks Sampas, is now exiting the pit lane. It could be close between him and 3 seconds now, is just before the last corner. So Pizzonia out in 18th position.
You're running first.
David Coulthard into the pits for BAR. Oh, that's going to be close actually there with Giorgio Pantano, as him, Coulthard and Montoya all into the box. A pit stop battle between Renault, BAR and Williams. We'll see who comes out on top. It seems like a long stop for the Renault crew. 11.1 seconds as 8.3 seconds there for Juan Pablo Montoya. Much shorter stop than Pantano or Coulthard as they all exit the pits on the wet tyres.
It seemed like Coulthard is exiting down in P11 still, so that's mildly advantageous compared to his position earlier on in the race.
And unfortunately, or rather fortunately, if you want to see more Toyota battling, we're going to get more Toyota battling, as Ralph Furman's now dispatched of Jacques Villeneuve for 5th. So, yeah. Rejoice to the world as Sperrifico now sizes up a move on Jacques Villeneuve for about the 70th time in this race.
Do you reckon Sato and Button, I guess not, were gonna try for a one-stop, but I guess that entire theory might have been thrown out the window just now with them both pitting as I tried to bring up the point.
Maybe they could still be on a one-stop though, the two of them with 11 second plus stops on lap 28 out of 66, so they'd only need to go, 38 more laps in this race, so there could be a good chance that they could be going to the end of the race. As now Jacques Villeneuve on the back of Ralph Furman. This is for 5th position, as Furman has made up a number of places in this race. He was down in 12th place at one point and has since clawed his way through the traffic and is up in 5th, making contact there with Jacques Villeneuve and nearly said the Toyota man there. You may be self-conscious about my own commentary. The Canadian, the 1997 world champion, looking to try and re-overtake the one-time point scorer in Formula 1. Side by side through turn 4, and as we've seen so often from Villeneuve, he's overtaken a driver into the 4th corner on the circuit. Villeneuve currently sits a whole minute behind Fernando Alonso, who is now starting making his way through the first couple of corners on the lap. Meanwhile, Jacques Villeneuve through turn 7 and 8, now into turn 9, that's Kampser corner, as Ralf Schumacher overtakes De La Rosa for 14th. Montoya overtakes Pantano down in 9th. As Sperafiko wants to continue battling with his teammate, and as such he's overtaken Ralph Furman, the Irishman, now down to 7th place. And now we could see yet more battling between... There we go, the two Toyotas once again rejoined on circuit, with Villeneuve in 5th, Sperafiko in 6th, and now looking to get a move done on his teammate.
I mean, at some point there's got to be an end to this constant battling. Either it ends by a team call or just by a forced spin maneuver by the car behind.
I think even then, the other Toyota that gets spun round will effortlessly claw back the time until they're just behind their teammate and then battle with them once more. As there's Sperafiko up the inside of Villeneuve at turn 4 for like the 4 millionth time in this race, and Sperafiko up into 5th position. Pantano's re-overtaken Montoya through the first couple of corners meanwhile. Pantano really struggling actually in this race. As I was about to say, we haven't seen many incidents since Nick Heidfeld's retirement from the race. Ralf Schumacher though has just been spun round. Let's see what has happened between him and what I assume to be Pedro de la Rosa in the Opel, maybe? He's just lost it on it. Oh, he's clipped the back of Benoit Trollier there, trying to lap the Frenchman. And as such, he's now going to fall behind Pedro de la Rosa in that battle for 14th. And Honda, once again, not looking like they're going to be scoring points today.
Kind of surprising that didn't end in damage. Same for the contact in Barrichello's first spin. Really makes you think if they make these parts stronger for these kind of conditions.
Since the pit stops as well, Kimi Raikkonen has done a good job in getting a gap over Fernando Alonso. Gap between the two of them is now 23 seconds, so almost a full pit stop between the two of them. Alonso has been struggling in these wet conditions, and yeah, the McLaren certainly seem to have an advantage over the rest of the field in these not so optimally gripped conditions, with Schumacher in 1st and Raikkonen in 3rd, although Jarno Trulli is doing his best in the Ferrari to keep tabs with the 5-time world champion. Jacques Villeneuve sizing up a move on his teammate. Again. Hey, Coulthard. He's overtaken Juan Pablo Montoya. I think Alonso lapping the Colombian has allowed David Coulthard to get through, and now the Renault of Alonso is now lapping his teammate of Pantano, as they're Coulthard trying to overtake the man who's currently in 4th, but can't because Giorgio Pantano is going about 3 miles an hour. Will he be able to make his way through? The gap has opened thanks to Alonso lapping his teammate, and this might allow the Scotsman to get through up into what is now 9th place in this race. Can't find his way through as Pantano blocks the inside of turn 5, as Sperafiko has been overtaken by not one but 2 cars, I think, down at turn 10. We'll get a replay of what's just happened there. Maybe, finally, there has been contact between the 2 Toyotas. Yep, well done.
It's 10 to 3 wide into the hairpin there, as there was another car on the inside.
Is there?
Seemed like it in the mirrors.
Oh yeah, there was. So 3 wide between the 2
that pushed him
Toyotas
into the
and
car.
Furman. The stewards could see that Furman was possibly at fault, or possibly Villeneuve, or the two of them running out of grip in these treacherous conditions. Not exactly sure, but either way, it puts Villeneuve now up to 5th, ahead of Furman, Sperafiko and Webber completing the points. As Giorgio Pantano has had a torrid weekend. He's down in 9th and half a minute off the points. And thank you, Sampas, for those live standings. Michael Schumacher would be leading the championship by 5 ahead of Kimi Raikkonen. So it would be a McLaren 1-2 in the standings, which will be great for their stead in the Constructors. Pantano on 29, Alonso on 26, with Barrichello and Coulthard both remaining on 21. Sperrifico has overtaken Ralph Furman, so he's now behind his teammate again.
Already in the pits.
Oh, something else happening. Trulli's going to be into the box at the end of this lap. Lap 31, so this is his second stop of the race. So it's certainly going to be a 3-stop for the Italian.
You're running first. McLaren already in the pits.
McLaren also ready to service Kimi Raikkonen at the end of this lap.
Guessing
Into the
they're
box
following
for the
suit in
second
the same
time.
strategy then.
Yeah, it seems like a 3-stop almost certainly for Trulli and Raikkonen. Schumacher boxed a couple laps later than Trulli and Raikkonen, so it could suggest that he could maybe be on a 2-stop strategy, just boxing early on his first stint. We'll have to wait and see. A 7.5-second stop for Trulli will see him comfortably still ahead in second, especially with Raikkonen into the box as Coulthard overtakes Giorgio Pantano for about the 6th time this race. Kimi Raikkonen remaining on the wet tyres and will also remain in 3rd place as Fernando Alonso struggling in these damp conditions, and the Iceman will return to the final podium place. I will be 2 minutes, I'll be right back.
Alright, I've got the broadcast to myself now. Time to get ourselves banned from the broadcast.
Please don't.
As for watching the McLaren here, into the Seat corner, I believe it is, turn 5, down into turn 6 then. He's all alone out there for now.
Already in the pits.
Iceman, Thomas, don't you mean the internal combustion engine there? Like, I don't think he's made out of engines. As Furman enters the pit lane.
Right, I've put my fan on in the background. Please let me know if you can hear it in the stream. As yeah, didn't you know that Kimi Raikkonen was a cyborg? I thought it was fairly obvious.
It seems fine with the fan, don't seem to be able to hear it.
Alright, cool. Ralph Furman then rejoining in 8th position following his pit stop. He's rejoined just ahead of, that's not Pantano, that's Alonso a lap ahead of him. So, yeah, it seems fairly comfortable that he seems fairly unsurrounded by drivers for the first time in this race.
Well, FF, the rule on blank race is just if you've been selected out of the 3 cars post-race to get an inspection, you'll just have to be lucky that you don't get disqualified and selected that you've got blank wear. So, yeah, it's all just down to luck, basically. A literal spin of the wheel.
Hello, Jeb. Welcome into the stream. Hope that your week has gone alright, mate. Sperrifico is in the points. He's been battling non-stop with his teammate Jacques Villeneuve as the two continue to converge on one another after the earlier incident between the two. Unfortunately for either Toyota, they haven't caused damage to one another as of right now. Ah, yeah. Kimi is from the planet Sisu, isn't he? as Michael Schumacher, I think, is into the box. Alonso's into the box on lap 34. So maybe a bit too early to try a 2-stop in this race. 8.4 second stop there for the home hero. And he will rejoin in a comfortable 4th position. Michael Schumacher follows him in, albeit nearly a lap ahead of 4th place man.
You're running first.
This possibly looks like a maybe a 2-stop, maybe a 3-stop, not exactly sure. 6.7 second stop, a very fast one there from the McLaren boys, as he will rejoin easily in the lead of this race. Mark Webber, thank you, Mark Webber. You've overtaken Sperrifico, which means that we don't have to see Toyotas battling each other for 3 corners. Now we're gonna have Planet Satanabitu now.
Makes you wonder when we start having the Grand Prix at that place.
I know what I said, Nils. Why'd you have to bring it up? Anyway, Coulthard has overtaken Giorgio Pantano for 9th place. Big money moves, even though that's for no points, and it keeps happening. I don't know why, but everyone just keeps sticking to each other and not actually pulling away from one another. It's quite strange. Don't normally see this in F1 Challenge, where they just keep overtaking each other in the slipstream. It's feels like almost like modern F1 with the DRS trains. But anyway, Mark Webber will try to get past Jacques Villeneuve. Of course, Mark Webber has only scored 1 point so far in 2004, and obviously 3 more points on the board would be fantastic for him. Obviously, with silly season fastly approaching all drivers and teams on the grid, he'll be looking to present himself as a potential option for any team on the grid for 2005, including his current employers Red Bull. Sperrifico, though, up the inside in the Toyota as he looks to find a way through on Mark Webber. He'll remain behind, though, as he makes his way through the final sector, and Mark Webber will try and get through on the Toyota of Jacques Villeneuve, hopefully sooner rather than later. Saying that, into the box for Webber as Cristiano D'Amato with a 6.9 second stop and falls behind Pedro de la Rosa. So Webber into the box from 6th position, and this will need to be a good stop if he were to rejoin ahead of Ralph Furman. Their battle for 7th place. Patrick Friesacker also into the box. 8.7 second stop. Not too fast there from the Red Bull crew, but it'll be enough to fetch him out ahead of Furman, who's just now making his way through the final corner. Giorgio Pantano a little bit wide there. Might actually fall under pressure a bit from Montoya a bit, as Sperrifico has overtaken Jacques Villeneuve again. Very good. He's now up into 5th place, the Brazilian. And I don't know how close they are to being lapped twice in this race. Not that close, actually.
You're running first.
I think Schumacher's coming close to actually now lapping Fernando Alonso in this race. So that would be pretty damning for the Renault team, who currently have their championship leader out the points, and their home driver possibly looking to be a lap down, as Michael Schumacher currently running 3 seconds a lap faster than any other driver out on circuit. Make that 1 second, as I think Jarno was actually stuck in a bit of traffic. So the gap between the front two is now 20 seconds. Schumacher in this second stint has really managed to pull out a gap, and through the pit stops he is now a whole pit stop ahead of Jarno Trulli in this race. As Villeneuve challenging up the inside of Sperrifico, can't find his way through. But again, it's the two Toyotas battling one another. We haven't actually seen a mechanical retirement in quite a while. I believe it's over 20 laps since we saw Nick Heidfeld retire from the race. as only 5 drivers so far retiring from this Grand Prix, in which 3 of them have been mechanical retirements. Heidfeld with the brake failure, Barrichello with the brake failure, and Nicolas Minassian from 5th position with a suspension failure, as there Jacques Villeneuve gets past Sperrifico. Yeah, not a lot happening on right now that we haven't really discussed about, as they seem to all be battling in packs for some reason, as Dan Wheldon's now been lapped twice in this race. Next on Michael Schumacher's list is to lapping Montoya for the 2nd time, which is, if I had a quid for every second I saw the Toyotas together, I would bankrupt Minardi. True. That'd be so true. But you could say it's pretty pivotal in these two battling each other for this long in this race, as these two obviously battling one another for a potential seat at the team in the future. Obviously, Sperrifico contracted to the team until the end of the season, but Villeneuve with all but 1 of their points, or 2 of their points so far this season, has been the major breadwinner at the Japanese outfit so far this season. And as such, you would suggest that they will possibly pick Jacques Villeneuve, but you'd also have to look at the races in which Sperrifico has retired from, and the mechanical retirements that he has suffered, including the main one was in France when he was in 3rd place before a gearbox failure took him out of contention. And Sperrifico, again, has just overtaken his teammate Jacques Villeneuve again. Gets past Timo Glock there in the Opel.
You're running first. 30 laps to go.
Not far off the case, Tom. So, race rundown after 39 laps of 66. We've got 27 to go in this one. And Michael Schumacher leads away by 22 seconds ahead of Jarno Trulli, who currently holds the fastest lap of the race. Raikkonen in 3rd, with Alonso 4th and last of those drivers currently on the lead lap. Sperrifico, for now, is ahead of his teammate Jacques Villeneuve as the 2 Toyotas continue to battle, with Webber and Furman completing the points. Then comes David Coulthard, Giorgio Pantano, who has a 5-second time penalty for his collision with... who was it with again? Was it with David Coulthard? I think it was. Actually, Coulthard's just overtaken Ralph Furman through the complex into turn 10. So he is now up into the points. Pantano completing the top 10 after he got a penalty, I think it was, for colliding with David Coulthard earlier on. Montoya is no longer in 11th, as he just retired from suspension problems. So both Williams now out of the race, and no points for the Grove outfit.
And that brings up Weldon the place up again, which, of course, is any form of good stuff that you can have.
Yeah, it's a good stead for BAR, who currently have 1 car in the points, albeit only just. And Dan Wheldon just 3 places away. So 6 retirements in this race, with Montoya now out. Dan Wheldon in 11th, with De La Rosa in 12th. Ralf Schumacher in 13th, albeit with a time penalty of 5 seconds for colliding with Marc Genet at the start. He's made actually a fairly good comeback to the to around the top 12 positions, as Giorgio Pantano also overtakes Ralph Furman. Then we've got Antonio Pittonia, Cristiano D'Amata, Button, Sato, Friesacker, Glock, who also has a 5-second penalty for colliding with Justin Wilson, and Benoit Trellier completes the order of 20 with Montoya, Heidfeld, Barrichello, Minassian, Wilson, and Marc Genet, the home driver, all out of this Grand Prix. Williams should change cars to keep Montoya. Alex Wurz, who is currently injured after his massive crash at Manicourt is unsure whether he'll be back before the start of 2005. He's currently holding a contract until the end of 2005 with Williams, and Jenson Button also before the San Marino Grand Prix signed a contract to be his teammate. So currently Pablo Montoya needs to be putting in good performances to possibly find himself as a good transfer target for those up and down the paddock, as there Jacques Villeneuve lapping one of the Opels. That's got to be Pedro de la Rosa, who's in 12th. As Brabham ready to be servicing Antonio Pizzonia at the end of this lap. Yeah, so Jacques Villeneuve currently holds the record for being the last remaining driver to score in every round so far in this 2004 season. So, yeah. Now, Pizzonia into the Jaguar. He does. Pizzonia in 15th position ahead of Jenson Button as Ralf Schumacher told to box at the end of this lap. I'm not exactly sure whether he will be in at the end of this lap, but he is running in 13th as of right now. If Schumacher goes back to Ferrari for 05, then Montoya. If Schumacher wins the championship for McLaren, I don't see a reason why he would necessarily leave, as yeah, he's already won one championship for McLaren already in 2002. That was his debut season in silver. And in 2003, he took his championship challenge to the final round before losing out to this man right here, Ralf Schumacher, who won the title in the Ferrari before moving to Honda. And then Michael Schumacher this season, currently in second place, but as it currently stands with the live standings, leads the way with what looks to be minus mechanical failure for the McLaren man. I said McLaren man, yes. Should be able to score his third race win in a row. So Sperfico into the box at the end of this lap, as well as Ralf Schumacher. These two on separate laps to one another, and a much longer stop there for Ralf Schumacher. Probably the two of them going to the end of this race. Not much happening on track right now, so I've got to ask, what were everyone's opinions on the 2026 Australian Grand Prix? Honestly, did not find it surprising one bit that Piastri crashed. That curse is just going to withstand the test of time, I think, as their Furman overtakes Giorgio Pantano for 9th. I also think that the thing with the battery deployment was I think massively masked up the fact that the cars looked really difficult to follow in. I don't know about anyone else, but I saw, I think it was Behrman and Lindblad battling one another, and I saw that Lindblad had to go down to like 3rd gear through the chicane, through that, was it turn 8 and turn 9? Like, I feel like the dirty air is going to be like massively going to be a massive problem, I think, throughout this season and future seasons if they don't like sort it out, because I just don't feel like it's going to work in the long term, to be honest. I was surprised as well with the reliability of all the cars, to be fair, as I was very surprised to see was it 17 cars quote unquote finished. Stroll, yeah, he came to the box, didn't he, and went to the garage, so it doesn't really count. So 16 cars finished. I was surprised by that. I was kind of expecting, like, if you finished the race, you had a good chance of scoring points, and we didn't really get that, which is a bit of a shame, because I like unreliability in Formula 1. I think that's one of the best parts about this series, because the unpredictability of that, rather than the unpredictability of say, someone winning a race due to overtaking loads of people by having a close field. I don't find that as interesting. I think the reliability problems that, say, front runners have, and then back markers and underdogs then getting points, podiums and wins, I think that's what makes it special, you know? As there we see Ralph Furman overtaking David Coulthard. He's now made 2 overtakes in 3 laps there to make his way back up into the points.
Yeah, the opening laps were quite interesting out there in Melbourne, but I think that also showed how artificial the races could be in this season, with how the battery was being abused at that point, really. And afterwards,
there's
when
also
Ferrari screwed up.
yeah, but there's also the point of the track itself. I think massively underlies the potential of this regulation, because Australia, since it's remodeling, is basically you never brake around the circuit. So obviously, with the braking being the main part of your battery generation, then that's obviously going to be a problem with the what do they call it, super clipping. I call it like derating of the engine and the battery on the end of the straights. So if we go to tracks that have like more braking zones, like a
Opel.
what's a heavy braking zone track in the early part of the season? Not exactly sure. Miami's a good one, I think. I think Miami will be a good race.
I think China might just be another stinker, to be honest, with the massive straight, and because of that, I don't think Baku will be that good either, though it does have its braking zones.
Yeah. I think I'm not expecting much from China next week. As here, Pedro de la Rosa into the box, and will be somewhere around the realms of Ralf Schumacher, I believe.
You're running first.
Just under 20 laps to go in this one, and an 8-second stop there for Pedro de la Rosa will fetch him out somewhere in the realms of Ralf Schumacher, exiting the pit lane now for the Spaniard, and down the main straight, that's one of the Toyotas, and not Ralf Schumacher, and De La Rosa maintains his 13th place ahead of the reigning world champion. There he is, in 14th. I don't think I realised, but I think Sperafico actually boxed, didn't he? And Villeneuve is going to be into the box at the end of this lap. He's up in 5th place right now, and about a pit stop's gap, conveniently ahead of his teammate, Riccardo Sperafico.
Hey, that's right. Next week is a sprint race as well, so only 1 practice and 2 races.
I hope that the lack of practice fetches out the unpredictability a bit more, because I felt like it was a bit cliche with what we were expecting to see. Another thing that I don't like about modern day Formula 1, I think, is like all the media around it. Like, you find out so much information. I prefer to be a bit in the unknown about everything. Like, we've got to know everything, and therefore there's no real surprises when stuff happens. Like what was it? Like, as early as December, they were expecting, oh yeah, Mercedes have got the best engine, so they're probably going to end up winning the championship. It was like, well, yeah, that's cool knowing, but like, that's just ruined the whole point. If that's true, then, you know, that's going to be a massive bore fest, because you already know what's going to happen. As Timo Glock's actually told that he's been struggling for tyre wear in the past couple of laps. Maybe the lack of downforce on that Opel inherently is making the German's life a bit of a struggle in these past couple of laps. I assume that he's going to be into the box at some point in the next couple of tours around the circuit, as Ralph Furman into turn 1, getting past David Coulthard and moving up into the points.
Pit crew ready.
To be honest, I don't think Drive to Survive is a necessarily bad thing. I've never really watched it too much. I've watched like clips here and there of it, but I feel like Drive to Survive is something that the sport needed, to be honest, because it was dying a bit. I think Formula One, especially in the late 2010s, and yeah, I think because there was obviously struggling with popularity. There was massive struggling of popularity in England, wasn't there? Especially at the Silverstone circuit, they were struggling for money massively, and then I think with the boom of the Netflix series as well as Hamilton's recent success, I think allowed that to stay on the calendar, and you know, stuff like that. Silverstone staying on the calendar, I feel like is a must. Granted, I am British. You might call me biased for saying that. I do not care. As Schumacher exits the pit lane and still in the lead, so he's made 3 stops in this Grand Prix and is comfortably ahead of Jarno Trulli in 2nd place. 15 seconds is the gap, as I think Alonso will be into the box fairly sharpish. Hello David, welcome into the stream. Hope that you've had a good week so far. Closing in on the end of this Spanish Grand Prix, and it's looking likely that Michael Schumacher will be taking top honours for the 3rd consecutive race today.
Renault are ready in the pit.
And as we suggested, Renault are going to be into the box at the end of this lap. That's for Fernando Alonso. He's going to be into the box, and I imagine he will be once again lapped in this race, as I think Michael's actually directly behind him on circuits. Yeah, I think he is. So this is actually going to save Alonso a bit of time, I reckon, as Mark Webber just overtaken Riccardo Sperafrico through turn 10. I actually just realised Jacques Villeneuve boxed, and surprise, surprise to absolutely everyone, he's not within like 3 millimeters of his teammate for once, which is amazing. We're actually going to see the Toyotas not absolutely ruining each other's races for the first time this whole race. And it's only taken 3/4 of the race. True, that is true, but it's kind of like difficult in a way to also ignore it at that point, because yeah, I get what your point is, Thomas. Yeah. There, Alonso has rejoined comfortably in 4th place. He's nearly a whole lap ahead of Jacques Villeneuve, so there's no doubt in that. As Sperafrico started to put pressure on Mark Webber for his 6th position, as Ralph Furman's starting to pull out a bit of a gap ahead of David Coulthard, although there is a Renault between the two of them. That's Fernando Alonso that's just come out the pits. Raikkonen told to box at the end of this lap, so 3 stops for him it is. That's a battle between Sperafrico and Webber, isn't it, for 6th place, so we'll keep an eye on this one. Minardi aren't bankrupt yet, no, but they are struggling, to say the least, yeah. They don't really have any margin in their budget to upgrade the car, so it's looking highly unlikely that they will qualify for any race in this season, which is a bit of a shame for the Italian team. Sampas, I really wanted to like make it kind of as realistic as possible with like the gap between the front and the back of the field. I think it's about, if you take out the equation of the Minardis, it's about 4 to 5 seconds between the front and the back. And like probably not 4 to 5, maybe 3 to 3.5 seconds, which is about right, I'd say. 2003 had a bit of a problem where I feel like it got a bit too close, you know. I think the gap between the fastest and the slowest car in qualifying was often like less than 2 seconds.
Jaguar are ready in the pits.
Kimi Raikkonen out of his box then. and he'll rejoin easily in third position. 7.7 second stop. There's also the problem with, as Jarno Trulli is called into the box at the end of this lap, with F1 Challenge, I feel like if you make the grid spread a bit too small, then you don't really see overtake, because there's never really any difference in cars. Like, I tried to make it so, or rather, some people have developed their cars into a way where a lot of cars are like fast in a straight line but rubbish in the corners and vice versa. So, yeah. Anyway, Jarno Trulli into the box. He's in for his third and what we assume to be, hopefully for the Ferrari driver's sake, final stop in this race. His last scheduled stop. And an 8.7 second stop. I said stopped way too many times there. Is going to rejoin easily in second place. No Trulli DNF shock. Well, Jack Bradbeer, I'm sure many of you know, has not been in chat so far to curse someone with his mystical powers, or rather has said anything in chat. So, yeah. Mark Webber still holding off Riccardo Speraffico for now, and it seems that the Lamborghini engine has got a bit of a grunt over the Toyota down the straights, and we'll be able to keep him behind for what we assume to probably be the rest of the race if he can't get through like traffic or something like that. 15 laps to go then for race leader Michael Schumacher as he begins lap 52 of 66. This race is becoming a bit of a slow burner as dare I say that we are now missing the Toyota battles of 2004 as there Dan Weldon parked on the side of the road. Oh, Michael Schumacher's just been crashed into.
He's out.
He's out. Michael Schumacher's out of the race. He's been crashed into by Benoit Trellier.
Championship implications.
Championship. There, championship implications. Buzzword. Let's see what's happened then. Let's go on board with Benoit Trellier. Gets lapped there by Michael Schumacher. Dan Weldon's parked off to the side of the road. For some reason they've just... Oh my days. Michael, what are you doing, bro? What are you doing? Just go around the left side. The turns have tabled. The turns have tabled. Michael Schumacher, with 15 laps to go, has, well, it will be retiring from this Grand Prix. Commentator's curse. Maybe. And this is the chance that Jacques Villeneuve needs to prove that he is the better driver out the two as he tries to overtake Michael Schumacher without a rear wing. This is going to promote David Coulthard actually into the points, as I believe that might be the first BAR engine failure that we've seen all season. I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. As yeah, Michael Schumacher will be into the box at the end of this lap to retire the car. It seems. Has Benoit Trellier got damage? Oh yeah, he has. So he's also without a front wing.
Weldon did retire in France, but I don't remember if that was a failure or not.
I can't remember either, to be fair. Michael Schumacher into the box then, and this will be to retire the car. A massive shame for the German as he looked to take the championship lead here today. However, he retires, and as such, Jarno Trulli, in 2 corners time, will take the lead and will be on course now for his first race win of the season, barring a crash or a mechanical failure.
Seems Coulthard has also gotten past Webber then, so that'll be up into P6 by the time he passes Schumacher.
Yeah, so Webber out of the pits then, and rejoining in 8th position. He'll be promoted to 7th as Ralph Furman also out of the box. So with Giorgio Pantano splitting the two of them, that'll put the Renault man now up into the points-paying positions. The German boy in shambles indeed, as now Jarno Trulli takes the lead with just 14 laps remaining. Kimi Raikkonen up to 2nd, and Fernando Alonso has almost been gifted a podium here today. Looking like another strong race for Toyota, as Villeneuve will move up to 4th, Sperrifico 5th. So that's going to be 9 points on the board for Toyota. And Sampas has put it in chat. Thank you, Sampas. Raikkonen, as it currently stands, will take the lead of the Drivers' Championship. 2 points ahead of Giorgio Pantano. Alonso will move up to 3rd, ahead of Michael Schumacher, David Coulthard, Barrichello. Villeneuve will be on to 19. Furman out the points now, so he's going to have his work cut out for him if he wants to beat Giorgio Pantano in this race. He is only 2 seconds up the road, approximately 3 seconds on the timing tower, and Pantano has been struggling a lot with his pace in this race. So, a bit of a mystery on why Pantano has been so slow in this one. But either way, it's allowed his championship rivals to massively gain, or at least attempt to, including Michael Schumacher, who unfortunately falls short due to a crash with Benoit Trellier. Yeah, if Pantano gets a point.
Bootson Energy Racing.
Already in the pits.
So into the box then at the end of this lap for Patrick Friesacker. He should be comfortably ahead of Timo Glock by the time he exits the pit lane. And he'll be in for what I assume to be the final time in this race. Oh, we had some drop frames. I don't exactly know when that was, but...
A while ago there was an internet stutter, but seems fine for the last dozen of laps.
Okay. I imagine that we will get to finish this race. I don't think the lap times have been too slow from the drivers. We need to be going at, what, about 2 minutes a lap, and they've been doing low 1 minute 30s. Low to mid 1 minute 30s, so yeah, it should be fine on time. Friesacker then, as predicted, out of the pits in 17th position, is actually close to being elapsed by the guy directly ahead in Takuma Sato. GP2 France was only due to the fact that they ran out of time in the day. Not really. It was a timed race. It was scheduled for what, 35 laps. Only went 25. So.
And yeah, F1 Challenge also has an inbuilt session clock, so it cannot go on for the next 3 decades without a stop.
Yeah.
Like, I believe after 2 hours the game throws out the checkered flag no matter what.
Yeah, but you can change that actually. It's a thing that you can edit into GUDB. So, theoretically you could have timed races in F1 Challenge. I'm not going to do that because that's strange. Anyway, Jensen Button with a poor exit out the Campton corner. That might involve Takuma Sato now getting past the Briton up the inside into turn 10, and it's an easy move there for the Honda as he now makes his way into the top 15. Antonio Pizzonio now just a couple of seconds up the road as Ralf Schumacher now up to 11th. The De La Rosa's actually in the top 10 now in the Opel, so it's been a good race for him, especially compared to his teammate Timo Glock, who has been pretty much down and out for the count following his first lap crash with Justin Wilson. And also, may I remind you that this race between Pantano and Furman is going to be Le Mans. Le Mans to place... No, it will not be Le Mans. Absolutely not. Pantano has a 5-second penalty for colliding with David Coulthard earlier on in the race. So if Furman can stay within 5 seconds of Pantano, then that'd be great. Although the Dams Lola Panels driver seems to be falling off the pace that of the Renault as he continues to close in on Mark Webber for 7th. And I also don't know how, but Jacques Villeneuve was 18 seconds in front of Sperrifico. He's now just 8 seconds. These two are literally magnetised towards each other in this race. I don't know why, but Sperrifico has just gained about a second a lap in the past 10 laps on Jacques Villeneuve. By the end of the race, these two will be once again battling each other. 10 laps to go for Jarno Trulli in the race lead, for him to attempt to at least take his first race victory of the season and then make it 5 different victors in the opening 6 rounds. Jarno Trulli, Kimi Raikkonen, Michael Schumacher, Fernando Alonso and Giorgio Pantano. No, I said Kimi Raikkonen. No, that's not correct. Kimi Raikkonen hasn't won a race yet. Barrichello's won a race, not Kimi Raikkonen. Oh yeah, that is true. I did forget about... Never mind. I'm losing it. I am losing it. I'm too...
Has smoke coming from his engine.
And that'll be another retirement in this race. Benoit Trulli, after escaping that crash with Michael Schumacher, will be out of the race, retiring in 19th and last position from the race. He actually finished behind Michael Schumacher in the unclassified standings. What did you miss? Michael Schumacher has crashed out of the race. He tried manoeuvring around Dan Weldon, who had blown up with an engine failure, and as such swerved across Benoit Trellier, who retired from the race just now. Benoit Trellier has just had an engine failure. So, yeah, Michael Schumacher out through crash damage and Trellier out through engine. Weldon out through engine as well. I don't know if you were here for Montoya retiring as well. He had a suspension failure about 15 to 20 laps ago, I think. Something like that. I think Villeneuve's about to get lapped twice. Despite being in 4th place, he's about to get lapped for the 2nd time in this race. Jarno Trulli, now with the Canadian in his sights. Certainly been a race in which the front runners have massively pulled away. Or rather, it's really been a race in which the drivers have really made the difference rather than the cars. As he now closes in on the Canadian again. Everyone's still on the wet tyres as it continues to rain. It's not stopped raining all Grand Prix.
If anything, it looks like the sky is darker than it was like half a race ago.
Yeah. As Trulli has just lapped Villeneuve again. As Pedro de la Rosa overtaken by Ralf Schumacher. The Honda man now up into the top 10 for, I think, the 3rd time in this season. He's been in the top 10. Ralf Schumacher, albeit, is a long way off the points. He's nearly a whole lap down on 8th place man Giorgio Pantano. So it's looking unlikely, unless there's sheer chaos for the front runners. And it's looking unlikely that Honda will score points again. And like I say, if you want to keep up with information on the season as a whole, as well as the information releasing before the stream, then be sure to check out the Discord. It's just been put in chat, as well as it's in the comments section. Not the comment section, the description of the yeah. I'm not good at plugging. I don't do it that often. Mark Webber says it's
down in the comments if you go look right down.
true. Matt Webber says it's going to continue to rain, so it's unlikely that we'll see any last-ditch efforts onto the intermediates or monsoons for the remainder of this race, as Jenson Button has just overtaken Takuma Sato. I assume that's into turn 4. We've seen several moves down there into turn 4. Not many moves actually into turn 5 as I was expecting. But we have, surprisingly, for a Spanish Grand Prix on F1 Challenge, we have seen a lot of overtakes, which you can't complain about, really. As now Jarno Trulli begins lap 60.
By now, I believe if anyone were to retire on the lead lap, they would still be classified.
Ralf Schumacher overtaken by Pedro de la Rosa down the main straight. So now... once again, it is an Opel in the top 10. I don't believe Opel have scored a top 10 so far this season. Their best result being an 11th place, I think, that came in Bahrain, thanks to Pedro de la Rosa, as my best recollection. De la Rosa, though, doing a good job right now, and hoping that he can capitalise on other people's mistakes and... mechanical retirements possibly, to try and get himself and Opel on the board for points this season. Actually trying to overtake Sperafico as a lap in front of him, as Sato and Button continue to battle for 14th position. Button obviously not pleased. He's very clearly vented his frustration so far this season on how poorly performing the Jaguar is this season. D'Amato doing slightly better, but not too much. He's down in 12th place, so no chance of Jaguar scoring any points in this race. Yeah, it's been a fairly woeful start for the season for Jaguar, although they have plans to fetch upgrades, of course, alongside many other teams, but they hope that they do the job in getting them a bit further up the order. And actually, Sato's starting to put a bit of pressure on. That is Takuma Sato is now closing in on Pitsonia, as he is actually, I think, faster than Giorgio Pantano. And not often that you'd see a Brabham outpacing a Renault, but since Pantano is a lap ahead, he's going to struggle to actually stay in front. Which 1996 mod is it, Jose?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be worth much if it's his drive that's possibly corrupting.
Yeah. There's also the problem of the 1996 C&D mod being very, 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 very intensive if it's C&D. With the dome, yes, I think that is the same one that Benny had. Yeah, it's very, very intensive for some reason. I don't exactly know why. No, it just uses a lot of resources, and I have no clue why. It's just like, acts like a modern game. Specifically the 96 C&D mod. Yeah. I think Pedro de la Rosa there overtaking Sperafico round the outside at turn 3 and then immediately losing that place. Ralf Schumacher now looking towards the inside of the Spaniard. But we wanted to put on a good result at his home race. Pedro de la Rosa holding on to that 10th place for now, ahead of the reigning world champion. Doesn't necessarily look like anyone's close to each other in these closing laps, other than the battle for 10th place between Ralf Schumacher and, yeah, badly optimised. That's, yeah, thank you. That's what I meant to say. Yeah, the only real battle out on circuit now is between Pedro de la Rosa and Ralf Schumacher right now, as the two of them actually being held up quite considerably by the Toyota Speraffico. Side by side again between Pedro de la Rosa and Riccardo Speraffico, and de la Rosa overtakes him again. Ralf Schumacher might be on the way through as well. This would be a great battle if all of them were on the lead lap. Gap between Pantano and Furman is extending, I think. Interval is 8 seconds. So at the moment, it's looking like Pantano is going to hold on for this singular point in this race. Ralf Schumacher, if he were to get past De La Rosa, needs to pull out a 5-second gap. And Timo Glock, obviously in last place, his penalty is going to do little to affect his stead in this race. As actually the battling between Speraffico and the other lower midfielders is allowing David Coulthard to join the fray in the battle for 5th place. So this could be the time that the Scotsman needs to try and get his way up into 5th place in this race and get some more points on the board for BAR. Of course, both Williams out the race, and if he were, well, he's already, as it currently stands, BAR would stay ahead of Williams, but even more so, every point counts in that championship battle for 4th in the standings. David Coulthard now dispatches of Pedro de la Rosa, but the straight line speed of the Opel might be the BAR's undoing as they head towards turn 1. Side by side between De La Rosa and Coulthard. Coulthard will tell him to shove off and let him get on with his race and trying to get past Speraffico, in which he's only got, 3 laps left to do it, as now Jarno Trulli halfway through lap 64, so he's just got 2.5 laps to go in this one to take his first race victory of the season. Coulthard, though, all over the back of the Brazilian. Yeah, it seems that Speraffico is definitely struggling for pace at this current rate. At least Coulthard is faster than the people he is at least lapped in this race. 2 laps to go then for race leader Jarno Trulli, which means at the end of this lap it'll be 2 laps to go between the battling pair of Speraffico and Coulthard as he looks towards the inside into turn 10. He's surely not got enough room to make that work. He has from a long way back. Coulthard's made the place. A brilliant move there from the BAR driver as he now shuffles his way up into 5th place. He's had a tumultuous Grand Prix, and this would be a good reward for him in this race. He's hard fought 4 points in this one. I believe he is in 1998 or 99, one of those two as well, Sampas. Yeah, he sounds a lot more emotive in that. As Speraffico might be looking to initialise a counter-attack on David Coulthard side by side through turn 1. Coulthard with the better exit though as they head into turn 3, and Speraffico might try up the inside possibly, where he's tried to overtake his teammate Jacques Villeneuve in recent earlier on in the race. Not quite making that move, but will he be able to make the move up into turn 4? Coulthard closes the door on the Brazilian, and Speraffico is unable to make his way through as these two with just 2 laps remaining to go. 2 laps remaining to go. That's perfect English from me. Coulthard, though, not with a great exit out of turn 5 as they head through turn 6 into the chicane of 7 and 8. Speraffico up the inside, side by side between the Toyota and the BAR. This is great battling between the two of them. Jarno Trulli begins the final lap, but the battle between P5 is well and truly alive, as now Speraffico in the slipstream towards turn 10. Can he be able to make the move up into the top 5 once again? Coulthard is going to be close to nearly spinning round. There's contact between the two as Coulthard has been given driver of the day, I think. Deservedly so, really. I'd say Jarno Trulli's also up there. Although Michael Schumacher, I imagine, would have almost definitely taken that if he were still in the race. David Coulthard then with just 1 lap to go in the race. He's got to hold off Riccardo Sperrifico for just 1 more lap. Can he do it? Have to wait and see. He's now on the main straight now towards the first corner, and Sperrifico, I think, is going to look towards the inside, side by side between Sperrifico and Coulthard. It could be close between the two of them. Sperrifico nearly inching ahead there of the world champion, and now nearly making contact again through turn 3, and we're going to have to change our reversion now to Jarno Trulli, who's now in the final sector for the final time. It's been an awful season for him so far. 4 retirements as well as a second place. Sorry to interrupt, Sperrifico's ahead of Coulthard on the final lap. We'll have a look now once again at Jarno Trulli, who now makes his way through the final couple of corners and is finally going to break the duck in 2004. Jarno Trulli exits the final corner, and he's eventually going to take his first victory of the season in these interchangeable conditions. A great race from him following Michael Schumacher's retirement. We'll keep watching though David Coulthard, whether he can get through on Riccardo Sperrifico for that 5th position. He's only got this one last overtaking opportunity to get it done. Turn 10, he's going to try up the inside. It's a desperation sort of move. Sperrifico is just about going to hold on. Alonso will get his first podium at his home Grand Prix. Raikkonen, as such, will be able to hold on to 2nd place, and it'll be, I think, just about Villeneuve in 4th, Sperrifico in 5th, getting a great haul of points. Oh, Coulthard up the inside into the final corner. This could be a drag race up towards the line between Coulthard and Sperrifico, but the Brazilian will just hold on ahead of Coulthard. Mark Webber should be able to get points on the board for Red Bull. More points on the board, that is, with his season's best 7th place finish as he now exits the final 2 corners. And now up towards the line for the Australian. 7th place for him, and more points on the board for Red Bull. That takes them now ahead of Brabham in the constructors standings, with Giorgio Pansino being able to just, I think he's just going to hold on to 8th place ahead of Ralph Furman, even with his 5-second penalty. We'll see what the gap is as he now makes his way across the line. It is not tomorrow, stop lying, Benny, and Ralph Furman 9 seconds off. That means he fails to score any points. Pansino holds on to a solitary point, but it is Jarno Trulli that has taken victory here today. Do you think there is any chance now of Jarno Trulli now entering this title fray? I think there definitely is.
I mean, with his only finishing results being a podium result, he might still be a bit far off from the lead, but it does show that when he finishes high. So he definitely has a chance.
Yeah, I think it's definitely down to whether the Ferrari car can withstand Grand Prix races. He's now finished 2, and in which of the 20 points available, he has scored 18 of the points available. Not exactly sure whether the next race of 94, by the way, will come out next week, as yeah, it's a bit of a time constraint getting these out every... Coulthard very clearly not happy with Riccardo Sperrifico, and as such has wiped him out in the pit lane.
Just wants to go home. Yeah, nice recovery from him down from, what was it, B16 up to B6.
Yeah. A very hard-fought one, as he often found himself in battles the whole Grand Prix. If you enjoyed that Grand Prix, make sure to like the stream and subscribe, as we're actually closing in on 900 subscribers. So, yeah, be sure to help me get there. And, yeah, next stream should be somewhere earlier on in the week. And the next F1 race, as many Formula 1 Challenge players would know, is Monaco Grand Prix time. It is a very chaotic race, and I'm hoping that you can all join us there for that one.
To the rhythm. the rhythm.